All right, good afternoon. My name is Darrick Smith. I'm from Oakland, California. Nice to meet y'all. I'm currently an assistant professor of educational leadership at the University of San Francisco, which means I train folks getting their master's degree and their doctoral degrees in educational administration and management. Train lots of school principals for the most part. My specialty, I guess my specialty, or what they call my research emphasis, is both on community colleges and equity, but also school discipline and critical theory at the secondary level, so high school. My background, all public schools, went to a high school called Oakland Tech High School, like number 12 or number 9, I can't remember, 12 people in my family go to that high school. Went to University of California, Santa Cruz, left there with a bachelor's degree. Went to Cal State East Bay, left there without my master's degree. I'll tell you a little bit about that later. Quit at the end. Started a second master's program, got a master's degree in social change and activism in the Department of Humanities. Essentially, I studied revolutions for 2.5 years. Then later on, got my doctorate in educational leadership and blah, blah, blah. My teaching background is at my alma mater. I taught at Oakland Tech High School for 10 years. That was kind of my goal once I got to college, to go back home. I taught a special class that went for 10 years, teaching critical theory, feminist theory, history of globalization and slavery, and the history of social movements to grades 9 through 12, 170 students a year for about a decade. After that, I also taught at the community college level as well. So accustomed to teaching at the community college. I miss it. Taught at Laney College in Oakland, De Anza College in Cupertino, SF State. I also taught in the county jails where I live, East Bay, maximum security, Santa Rita County Jail, and San Quentin State Prison as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some equity stuff. I'll tell you a little bit more about myself just to get things going. I'm only going to talk for a portion of the time we're together. Then I'll entertain questions or comments or insights or critiques or challenges after that. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. If at any point I say something that you don't understand, because I'm a little crazy, I'm weird, so sometimes I'll say some weird stuff, and if it don't make sense, just raise your hand and be like, yo, say that again. And that's cool. I'm used to people looking at me funny. I'm an anime fan, so I get funny looks pretty often. But I'm proud to be an anime fan. Nerds rule the world. Yeah. And we live longer. So I'm 41 years old. It means I graduated high school in 1992. In that era, somebody say wow, like I'm old. Wow! 92 in the United States, this period between around 1983 to 1994 was a very violent time in the United States. My city was in the top 5 for homicide for about 12 years per capita. I lost 3 of my friends to homicide before I was 21. I saw my only murder when I was in 10th grade. And I had a D average at the time in high school. And it's really not, I don't know, it's a big deal, but not really. A lot of people had Ds. I had a 1.17 GPA, which I wasn't proud of. But I had Ds and Fs in most of my classes. I had like a C, I think, in history, which was pretty cool. But I had a B in one class. Can anybody guess what that class was? PE. Math. Somebody say math? Who said math? Thank you. Thank you. Usually folks say PE, right? Because, that's how it is, PE. It wasn't math. I was horrible in math, actually. But I appreciate the compliment. That's giving me a lot of credit. You know what I mean? Like, it was math. Like, yeah, word. No, I wasn't math. It was Japanese. Yeah, I had A's and B's in Japanese, and D's and F's in English. And so you can imagine my father, being from Louisiana, was like, whose child are you? With rage though. He wasn't happy. I had a 1.17 GPA. He was like, who the hell,
what's wrong? And you ask my mama, what's wrong with him, Irma? What's wrong with him? And I'd be like, well, I don't know. He's like, do you need, special help? And my mom was asking, maybe he needs a special tutor. And my dad was like, he got a B in Japanese. He don't need no special nothing. He's just lazy. And I was like, yeah, maybe. I don't know. And he said, can you explain why you have a D in English and a B in Japanese? And it hit me. I was like, well, because I'm an anime fan, right? And back when I was younger, yo, anime was a black market hustle, okay? You don't know what anime is, it's Japanese animation, okay? It was a black market hustle, okay? You couldn't turn on the TV and hit a channel and there's just anime everywhere, okay? There was anime, but they didn't tell you it was Japanese, right? It was dubbed in English. If you're older than me, there was a cartoon called Atom Boy. It was the first anime to hit the. I'm not gonna go into anime history. You didn't come here for that. But like Thundercats was Japanese. You ever seen that, right? So there's all these different Japanese. All right, but you couldn't just get it, okay? And there was no internet. I'm dating myself, of course, but there was no internet, okay? There wasn't even like cell phones unless you was dealing hella crack and you had a big one like that big. So, I'm serious, right? So, definitely, if there wasn't no like cell phones, it was really hard to get anime. So this was the hustle. I can say it now because all these people is retired and gone, okay? But what you could do is, so my sensei of course means teacher in Japanese. So my Japanese language instructor, Kurashe Kurashige, he had hookup at Japantown in San Francisco, okay, at the Mikado gift shop. Okay? The Mikado gift shop, okay, was down the way from the VCR and TV store, right? Which was down the way from the video rental store. Are y'all following me so far? Okay, so what you had to do, right, is that they had the hookup so that they were selling the dubs of the anime videos at the Mikado gift shop for like $10, $15. Because what they would do is the video shop would take it to the VCR shop to have it dubbed and then sell it underneath the table at the gift shop. Y'all follow me? No, you could buy whatever you want. The whole thing, you have that, you know what I'm saying? You might come in and be like, yo, they got volume 1 through 3, you got 4 through 8? Yeah. They're like, we can get you 4 through 8. If you're like, oh, you can give me 4 through 8? Okay, give me 4 through 8. How much? You know what I mean? It was the hustle, right? Okay, so if I'm going to go through all that energy, right, of finding the hustle, get my $10, $15 on, putting in orders, you know what I mean? Every time you had a science fiction convention, right now they have, okay, I didn't plan to talk about anime the whole time, I'm sorry. But now they have like anime conventions, right? Like I go to Fanime, which is a big one in San Jose, California, every year, right? In addition to my scholarly conferences, I actually make it to Fanime each year, right? But point is that back then all the sci-fi stuff was combined with comic book stuff, combined with Jedi stuff and Star Wars. So you go to the sci-fi convention, it'd be beef, it'd be like funk between the like you have funk with Star Wars, you feel me? Like, you know what I mean? Like Star Trek and Star Wars had beef, right? Okay, it don't sound normal, but it was really crazy. But my point is that I was interested in anime, and you couldn't get it in English. Okay, those tapes were all in Japanese. So when you bought it, you'd have to buy the book that they made of screenshots to go along with the movie, and then you'd buy a printed out translation of the screenshot book. So then you read the book while you're watching the movie. Are y'all following me? That's why I took Japanese. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So my high school was 80% black. It was beautiful. 80% black, probably about 10% Latino, and a really beautiful mix of different Asian groups. And then it was only like 5% white. Okay. But it had 13 foreign languages offered at the time, full music program, the whole deal. Oakland Tech was a beautiful place. But my dad didn't care because he was like, my son has a laziness issue. Because if you can focus all this energy on Japanese and you can't get even a C in English, okay, you got a problem. And that problem is going to be a housing problem, okay? Once graduation hit, I'm going to be in the bleachers celebrating your exit. Okay? Now, whether you have a place to go or not, ain't got nothing to do with me. Okay? But I'm through talking to you about this grade stuff. And he said, I'm not going to say nothing else to you. And I was in 10th grade. It's also the year that I saw a classmate of mine murdered at an after party. So there was a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on at the time. It was just a very violent time. Okay, so why I bring all that up? So you can know something about me. Like, I'm not in this for status. I happen to be a professor. I happen to have a doctorate because I kept pursuing a very deep desire to find answers and have a response. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay, that's it. That's all I care about. Okay? I'm big on respect. I'm super sensitive to disrespect because I'm from Oakland. I mean, it's not because I have some type of status as a professor. I'm way more sensitive than most professors. Okay? And I'm much more angry than a lot of them, too. And when I talk to faculty, and which I'll do for your faculty and staff and counselors tomorrow, sometimes folks get, like, why is he so intense? Why is he yelling? Because I told you I done buried partners up in this already. This ain't no joke. I ain't out here playing with people. Your education is serious. The fact that you've been deprived of adequate education in most of your public institutions is intentional. It's a function of a stratified social structure that intends to maintain certain populations on the bottom for the purposes of exploitation and the location of wealth and privilege at the elite level. So education ain't a damn joke. If you've been trained to think it's a joke, that's all part of the function too. But if I'm in this, I got plenty of friends that should have been here with me. I got plenty of folks that should have been in college with me. Y'all know college ain't for the smart people. Y'all go to college. You sit next to morons every day. True or false? Sometimes you're taught by morons every day. True or false?
True.
All right, word. And in the midst of that, you get to rub elbows with some brilliant people that you are lucky to have met, and you get to sit and learn some amazing things from some of the most brilliant instructors you never even heard of before. But the fact that you have that mix means that the institution itself does not represent brilliance. Are y'all following me? Okay? You go to a four-year college, y'all got like UCLA, USC. I'm not a SoCal person, but I know y'all got hella colleges down here, right? Okay? And there's a whole bunch of them, okay? Step on those campuses with all their prestige. You'll see the same type of idiots you saw in high school. Same. Barely changed a bit. They might be a little more arrogant, but they ain't smarter, and they ain't smarter than you. The fact that they are in these institutions and the fact that these institutions exist represent a stratification, right? A layering, levels. It doesn't represent consciousness. It doesn't represent heart or drive. It doesn't represent ability. It represents exclusive space. All right? One of my mentors, Kai Lundgren Williams, very weird and brilliant guy that I love to death. One of the things he always says, he said, you got to be mindful of systemic enclosures. And I was like, in systemic enclosures, he taught me, I was like, wow, that's deep, right? He was like, I was tripping, right? And he was like, think of it as an enclosure, a space that is intended to hold knowledge away from the public. Think of it as a space, and I'm talking about four-year institutions like the one where I work. Think of it as a space in which knowledge in the social sciences, like sociology, anthropology, the professional sciences, such as myself in education and some others, think of it as a space in where knowledge is extracted routinely from communities, generation after generation after generation. They come in, we research what you're going through, write notes about it, write a nice paper or book about that shit that you can't read, and generation after generation, you repeat the same cycle as if you never knew what was going on. And then all that wisdom gets taught and put at a university that you gotta go pay to get into. And if you ain't got the bread, or you come from a particular school, you might never get access to that information because you might not ever know it's there. Are y'all following me?
Yeah.
Okay? So it becomes a space of enclosure. And then you deal with folks that, well, they could get that knowledge either way without having to go to a 4-year college. Yes, that is true. If their K-12 education taught them properly. See, it's hard to know what you don't know. But that's what elders and wisdom and passing down the information is for. Like, I need elders in my life. It's important for every community to trust in the wisdom of the aged. Just because you old don't mean you smart. But if you have age on this planet, you might know a few things. So when you find folks that dismiss elders, throw age to the side, I don't want to listen to those old people, they're actually missing the primary opportunity to find out what they don't know. Are y'all following this? See? Because like my daddy might say, hey, you know what? What they really need to think about on this immigration thing is what's causing all those people to leave Latin America. That's what they need to think. I'd be like, damn, daddy. That's what they need to be thinking about. And then I gotta go look that up. Are y'all following this?
Yeah.
I gotta go look that up because he put something in my brain I wasn't even thinking about, right? Okay? So when you don't have that opportunity at the K-12 level and you spending 186 days in a school for most of your childhood and adolescence. And for most of that time, they ain't taught you why people get murdered in Compton and not in Beverly Hills? You still don't know? That's crazy. They don't teach you why we never discuss rape, but we only discuss homicide rate. They ain't taught you about that. You ain't tripping on that. But you've been in school for 13 years in the same locations. All right? So what I'm highlighting here, sorry, I get all intense. It's Sagittarius, I'm hyper. You know what I mean? I get all intense. But my point is that when you become a college student, a community college student, okay, this is your opportunity to snatch back the shit they stole from you. And if you think it's anything different, that's how they win. See? It's about the consciousness, man. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of going off. I have all these slides. I hate PowerPoints. You know, see, I ain't even clicked it once. All right? But our reality, right? How we view reality. I mean, there's all. Okay, all right. I'll probably need to raise this screen in a second. Is that all right? I don't know how to do it. I'll break it. Okay, thank you. So, are y'all following me so far? Okay, so this is what I'm getting at. Okay, we actually do create our reality. Are y'all following this? I'm not trying to be like, oh, Tony Robbins, like be motivational on you, okay? But I'm saying we actually do create our reality. Did you hear what I said? We do create our reality. If I'm gonna get shot today, the chances are it being by a Klan member is next to none. And the chances of it being by a cop is higher, but still way slimmer than the chance of being shot by another black man. Okay, the Malcolm X grassroots report talked about how cops might shoot or killed over 400 black folks, or just under 400 black folks a year in the United States. But black on black crime might take nearly 5,000. Okay? And we don't talk about it, right? Turn on the TV, some dude, or turn on the radio, or download some dude rapping about how horrible women are, and then go digging, right? But ain't nobody tripping off the level of harassment and assault that women experience in the United States. And who often does that to them? Usually people that they know and are close to, speaking to the psychosis of American masculinity. We don't want to talk about that. We want to blame somebody else, right? Okay? But all these ideas and how we think of things, that defines our action. And as we act, we create our reality. Are y'all following this? So, if we have an entire educational system that has shaped us in a particular way, that system has led to the shaping of our reality. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay. So, I'll talk a little bit about the system a little bit here. And then I want to spend some time framing a couple things for you, some critical theory stuff. Hopefully it'll make some sense, because you can tell I'm crazy already. And then we'll get into like your questions. I really want to be able to address concerns and questions you have I would say about life, but I'm not really good at a lot of stuff in life. Like, don't ask me about your relationship or nothing, because like, we're all learning that, right? But anything about college or tactics for success or whatever, and let me, because I'm going to use the word success in this, because they use the word, in our system. I don't use the word success unless I'm talking about the Student Success Act or student success in community college. Y'all follow this? Because I don't know what people think I mean when I say it, so I usually don't use it. See, success to me is not whether or not you have a job. Okay, like, that's good. Okay, but there's plenty of assholes in your community that has jobs. Are y'all following me? Yeah. There's plenty of people that abuse you, harass you, degrade you, harm you. Hell, some of them are your boss at work. So having the job itself is not going to humanize your community, all right? And when I talk about, is this making sense so far? Yes. Okay, so humanization, when I'm talking about humanization, I'm leading more towards this idea of liberation, okay? And we want to make a distinction between those two. And this is why I appreciate Professor Norris for having me here. It's always a blessing, because most colleges don't want me because I'm nuts, right? And I say stuff like this. I don't give a shit if you assimilate. I want you to liberate. Yeah. I say stuff like that. When I teach for the liberation of my students, which means an introspective approach as well as an externalized analysis of social systems. Okay? So I want you to learn what the system is doing, but most importantly, I want you to learn how the system actually works through you. Through you. Okay? Like, how is your language and actions shaped by the system so that you go about your day executing an agenda that degrades your own community and the community of others, right? How elitist or snobby are you? How much shit do you talk to other people? How mean or horrible or arrogant of a person are you? See? Because you might not think that matters, but to the person you horrible to, it matters so much because you can dictate their whole day by being an actual present manifestation of the systemic oppressor. What we call a sub-oppressor, essentially, what Paulo Freire calls a sub-oppressor. You are the in-my-face manifestation of all things dehumanizing and hurtful. And yet you want to work with me to stop police brutality? Better get up out my face. You done brutalized me 7 times. I ain't even seen a cop all year. But you trying to get me to mobilize with you. You trying to say you helping me out, but you ain't checking your own conduct and behavior. Why? Because we trying to be successful. See, that's why I'm critical of the term successful. It usually represents some type of idea of upward mobility rather than humanization and liberation. So we want to move up in a corrupt system rather than move out enough to transform that system. Are y'all following this?
Yes.
Okay? And I'll talk hopefully a little bit about that. You can ask me about it later if I don't come back to that. But this idea of moving out to go back in. Any of y'all seen The Matrix? The movie? Okay, raise your hand if you've seen that movie. Okay, word. Okay. If you haven't seen it, you should see it. Okay? But don't look at it as an action flick. I taught The Matrix for 8 of the 10 years that I taught with my high school students, and I use it in my graduate courses as well. Because all The Matrix is the first film, all The Matrix is a visual representation of oppressive constructs. It's all about oppression. The whole movie is about social oppression and resistance. So go back and watch it again with that lens. All right? See The Matrix as your existing social system. Right? A fake world to which you were plugged in when you were really young. Y'all follow me? Okay? And that became your reality, even though something always felt wrong. But in order to be able to shift that matrix, you have to step out of it a bit to see it for what it really is, and you have to train. You have to train yourself to be able to go in and do battle. Then you plug in every once in a while to go in and do battle. Okay? College and higher ed is your opportunity to continue your training to be able to do battle. Y'all follow me? That's why it can be hard for people to graduate and make it through. Because any system like the community colleges that makes it easy for the public to train is not going to be well funded. Y'all follow this? Yes? So anyway, all right, not to like creep you out or anything, but watch the movie, all right? Okay, all right. I'm a movie buff, okay. So when we talk about equity, and haven't you ever heard this term equity? Okay, good, because they're using it a lot in the system. Hella late, but they're using it a lot in the system, okay? I want to make sure that we understand this. People will use diversity and equity as interchangeable. They're not interchangeable. Diversity just means hella different people in one spot. Jail got diversity. You know what I'm saying? Prisons are very diverse. Yes? Okay? Usually the bus is hella diverse. You get on the bus, there's hella different people up on the bus. It's diverse. It don't mean they about to change nothing. It don't mean they about to do nothing. They just all there. Yes? Okay. Equity is not diversity. And equity is not equality. Okay? Equality is about making sure that everybody has equal something. Okay? Which is cool. You know what I'm saying? I think that's beautiful. If we all have equal access to education, I think that's a beautiful thing. The question is me getting the same education as that person over there going to result in the same level of astuteness and ability? Does that make sense? Okay, let me make it simple. If I'm in high school and I'm learning all a certain type of history, right, that only show a certain type of people, yes? And I get to sit next to a white dude in the same class, we learning the same thing, but what is in that content is providing a different message to him than it is to me. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. All right. So equity is about justice. And this is what makes it difficult. Because how do you have such an unjust social system now commit itself to justice? Does that make sense? I'll say it again. How do you have such an unjust system dedicate itself to justice? It doesn't make any sense. It's going to be very, very difficult. It's going to be very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. Okay? At some colleges, at some point, you had cops pulling people out of their college classes for disruption. And those people suspiciously all look similar. That's unjust. You can't pull no person out of a college class for disagreeing with their professor.
Well,
happens too often, don't it?
yeah.
That's not just, because if that person looked different, people might just consider them disagreeable. All right? So justice is a big deal. Another thing about justice is that justice is often in the eyes of the beholders, as folks might say. Like, I get to tell you what I consider just. You don't get to tell me. Does this make sense? Okay, all right. Y'all just staring at me like I'm crazy. I mean, I know I'm crazy, but I hope this is making sense. Okay. So I'm going to break this down really quick, really quick. If you didn't know this, you should know this. Okay? And I'm going to flow through this relatively quickly here. Okay? This is what makes our system in the state very special, the system you're part of. Okay? California Master Plan for Higher Education in 1960. It's a big deal. All the faculty in the room and some of the administrators in the room, you already know how important this is. Okay? Now, when you think about community colleges and universities around the country, you have the community college, you have a university, you have trade schools, you have whatever, and they're just there. Okay? The Master Plan for Higher Education wanted to actually make this system more cohesive and more logical in its execution when they developed the California Master Plan. And this is a policy to really put all of these three systems in our state in line. Community college, CSU, UC. Y'all follow me? Hello? Yes. Okay, good. Two purposes here. One, to differentiate the functions among those three. Okay? So there's a function that the community college is going to play. There's a function that the 23 or 24, I don't know how many are now, 23 or whatever CSUs are going to play. And there's a function that the 10 UCs are going to play. Okay? That's very important. But secondly, the establishment of the principle of what? What's that say? Universal access and choice. That's dangerous off top. That's scary right there. Universal access and choice. This is what you in. Universal access and choice. That sounds scary to some people. Universal access. Look. My my great grandparents were in bondage. Yes? Yeah. Slaves. Okay? If I'm from a group of people who were enslaved, okay, as Dr. Abercrombie from University of Cincinnati would say, if you was enslaved, you was never intended to be free. There wasn't no time limit on that. There wasn't no check it out. 2 generations, we done with this whole thing. All right, just be patient, okay? That's not how it worked. You know, conquistadors come through Latin America, they're like, hey, we just gonna slaughter y'all for about 100 years. Be patient, okay? That's not how it worked, right? Oppression is about control, right? Control is about power, and those usually in power want to hold on to it, all right? So when some legislative bodies and legislators decide that they want to establish a system that gives universal access and choice, this is giving universal access and choice to the children of immigrants and the descendants of slaves. That's what you in. A system in California that was intentionally going to do this in 1960. Okay? So why am I going to even bring this up? Just take a look at it. Take a look at it. Take a look at it. Okay? UC was to take the top 12.5% of high school students. CSU is going to take the top third. Read this dang thing here. California Community College were to admit who? Any student. Any student capable of benefiting from instruction. Why is that dangerous? Because it ain't high school, bruh. That's why. It's not high school. This is higher ed. You know, drinking tea with your pinky up. You know, Yale, Harvard, right? If you got universal access to any student capable, that means that any student in this system can start off at West Los Angeles College and be at Harvard. Are y'all following me? Yeah. Do you know how dangerous that is? Let me tell you why that's dangerous. It ain't dangerous to me. I love it. Okay? But let me tell you why it's dangerous. Because this is happening in the 1960s. These are photos, and I'm quoting from Christian Parenti here, but drawing from his word, Lockdown America. You can read it. It's a great book. But this is from the General Electric strike in 1968. It looked chaotic because it is. Okay? I'm sorry, not the General Electric strike. This is from the Democratic Convention in 1968. The Democratic Convention in 1968 outside looked like this. You see this? You see this? Okay. The significance of this is that this is also 1968, right? World War II been over, Vietnam about to start, it's a Cold War going on. The United States is trying to battle with the Soviet Union to get more and more countries to come our way towards this so-called democratic capitalist society versus going the other way, which is towards a socialist or communist endeavor. Y'all follow me so far? Yes. Okay? So the idea is, we are telling the world that we are all about freedom. Yes? This is the right way to go. Be down with America, because we about freedom, and we about peace. You ain't gonna see that crazy stuff. Ain't none of that crazy stuff happening, but it's 1960s. So folks are just now getting TVs all over the place, and this was on TV. Uh-oh. Are y'all following this? Yeah. Uh-oh. So you got a problem going on, okay? You got this cat right here having universal access to education. Are y'all following this? Which could one day lead him to be the boss of this cat right here. Are y'all following this? Which could be highly problematic. Okay. And during this time, you have all these things popping up during all this turmoil. Anti-war protests, continuation of the civil rights movement, that's Fannie Lou Hamer, Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. Y'all know what's up, Cesar Chavez, yes? I ain't gotta tell y'all, man, that's the Latino cousin right there, okay? Right? You have community colleges in certain locations. This is Oakland City College, Merritt College, starting to organize for ethnic studies programs. Are y'all following this? Okay. Out of that, you have the Black Panthers starting in 1966, getting really popular and famous in 68 and through 1970, and then continuing on to 1981. What's really important about this, you had folks from the Ewar Coon there, Carlos Montes from the Brown Berets, it's Kathleen Cleaver from the Black Panthers. What's really important about this is that all these folks, all right, are not only radicalizing themselves or politicizing themselves, they're also having cross-cultural alliances. Are y'all following this? Okay, now remember, I told you where I'm from. Where am I from? Okay, word. So what this does is this is part of a beautiful legacy. Like, till this day, when I became a high school principal in San Francisco, I didn't tell you that part. So after I left Oakland Tech, I became a high school principal in San Francisco. When I got to San Francisco, and San Francisco is a great place with great people in it that I really respect, at least. And they're a little different than Oakland. They ain't worse, they just different, right? And I got there, and most of my students were Latino. And you had like mostly Latino and then somewhere after we're about 30% African American. And there was like beef between some of the Latinos and the African Americans. And I'm from Oakland, I don't know nothing about that. I was like, what y'all what? They're like, we don't fool what they call them mayatas? Is that the right word? Am I close? I mean, it's not the right word, but they're like, no, that's not the right word. It's not the right word. But I'm just, was that, yeah? Cockroaches, right? Yeah. But so that was a slang term, a slur that they would use to describe black folks. I didn't know that, because I'm from Oakland. Like, my daddy called some of my Latino partners son. Like, I grew up in a cross-cultural spot where you don't beef like that. You go to all the celebrations of a Latino culture, out of respect. You feel me? For your friends that you grew up with. And they come to your barbecue and kick it with you out of respect because you friends. So when I got over there and the kids was beefing, I was like, oh, hell no, we ain't having this. We ain't having this at all. All y'all broke and y'all fighting against each other like you crazy. Like, broke his L, targeted, you know what I'm saying? We got our beautiful Asian brothers and sisters coming through, Vietnamese, Laotian, Chinese. Nah, man, this is family. We all fam. And we had, even at my high school that I was principal, we had, I think, 3 white students. We had 3 white students, right? And it was like that. We family, okay? If you ain't balling out of control, and I mean rich, like your daddy take a helicopter to work, then we on the same team here, right? Okay, so that ethic is an old ethic, is what I'm saying, okay? And so what you had during this era is this kind of emergence of more self-defense oriented organizations. Okay? I don't like to call them militant because they weren't really militant. Some offshoots became more militant, but they were self-defense oriented. Like, I'm not about to walk hand in hand no more begging y'all for peace. I ain't about to do that. You about to give me my rights and I'm strapped up. Okay? That's self-defense. Y'all follow me? Like, I'm not saying I'm gonna shoot you, but if you shoot at me, I ain't turning the other cheek now, unless I go like this, turning at the pool. You feel me? Like, all right? So that's a self-defense oriented perspective, right? Now, a little caveat to that. It's important to note that historically and internationally in social movements, you tend to always have that balance. You always have somebody that's about peace. You have somebody that's like, yeah, I'm about peace, but I ain't about to let nobody hit me, right? Because that's humans. Right? That's not unique to black folks or Americans. That's just humans, right? Some people would be like, yo, well, we need to take the peaceful route. And other folks would be like, word, you go ahead and do that. I'm going to take, a more self-defense oriented route. So I don't want to paint these communities as exclusively self-defense oriented because they weren't. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay, cool. Young lords, Puerto Ricans, out of New York, Chicago. Okay. So why am I bringing all this up? This is Vice President Spiro Agnew, 1970. Is this remotely interesting so far?
Yes.
Okay, hold on. I don't want you to fall asleep yet, okay? In early 1970s, Spiro Agnew argued that there was too high a percentage of black students in college and condemned, quote, the violence emanating from black student militancy. This is a quote out of H. Bruce Franklin's book, okay? Declaring that, quote, college at one time considered a privilege is considered to be a right today. He singled out open admissions as one of the main ways, quote, by which unqualified students are being swept into the college on the wave of the new socialism. Are y'all following this? Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, now why is that important, Steve? Because later that year, an advisor to both Nixon and Reagan, when Reagan was governor, defined quite precisely the target of the conservative counterattack. We are in danger of producing an educated proletariat. What's a proletariat? Close, that's close, I appreciate that. Us. What's proletariat?
Us.
Who said us? Where are you guys? Us, yes sir. A proletariat is the working class. Labor force, yes? It says we're in danger of producing an educated working class. Okay? That's dynamite, and not JJ on Good Times dynamite, not just normal bad dynamite, okay? Sorry, that's an old reference. Don't even trip, okay? We have to be selective on who we allow to go through higher education, okay? Are y'all following this? Now, The key here, sorry, let me go back a bit. Where's my arrow buttons? I can never use this thing. Okay. Let me go back, okay? What I wanted to draw your attention to here was this term. Say that, please. Okay. The key word in this is this. Okay. These movements, and I didn't have the Young Patriots up there. I didn't have the Students for a Democratic Society up there. Those are largely white, politicized groups. That was also part of this era that I didn't have the pictures up for, so I wanted to note that too, okay? What he is trying to point out is that the problem here is not that you got angry people of color. The problem here is that we've given an opportunity to angry people of color to understand why they're angry and how to change things, okay? That's not saying that this is unique. This is not the first generation to want to change things. But what he's saying is that we have established through open admissions, New York and California and a few other locations, inexpensive access to information that could make these communities more successful in social transformation. You are sitting in an institution, okay, that represents that threat. Are you following us? Yeah. So the trick is, if you can't close down the institutions, then you got to make sure you consistently close down the minds of the people who attend the institution. See? Absolutely. So basic psychological warfare. See, if I can't destroy what somebody has built, I can change how you are going to utilize that tool. That's all. Okay? And it's not, and let me be clear here, because I am an angry black man, and people be putting hella stuff on angry black men. Okay? They be doing hella stuff to us. They be like, well, he's just angry, and they always point to the mystical white man in the sky controlling everything. That's not what I'm saying. Okay? I don't have no problem with damn near every white person I know I'm cool with. Ain't nothing wrong with a human being based on their race or ethnicity ever. Did you hear what I just said? If we could see oppressors by their race, you know how easy it would be? I mean, that would just be beautiful. Be like, oh, he green, take him out. You know what I'm saying? Like, that'd be really easy. But that's not how it works, right? Oppression is an oppressor consciousness. Again, this is Paulo Freire, not me. But the oppressor consciousness is a way of thinking. And it moves through people like a disease. See? Half the women that walk down the street that get called by a bitch, get called a bitch, don't get called a bitch by a cop. If my sister, Kim, she's 6 years younger than me, she's a teacher. If my sister's walking down the street and somebody grab her by her wrist, like, hey, come talk to me, that's not going to be a cop. That's not going to be a Klansman. It ain't going to be a Republican. It'll be somebody we more familiar with. So we're looking for the consciousness, not the color. We don't look for color. Don't look for color. You look for color, you're going to miss it all day. You're going to miss it all day. Don't look for gender. All oppressors ain't men. You're going to miss it all day. Okay? This is why we have to train our students and our friends and each other to be analytical, to be paying attention. You can't be on your phone like this all day. If you're on your phone like this all day, all the phone is a conduit through which larger entities communicate with you and your friends communicate with you remotely. But that's not building a skill set. The skill set one needs to create liberation is a very human skill set. I need to be able to read your eyes. I need to be able to read your body language. I need to know that when the tone in your voice switch. Are y'all following me? Just that Oakland post-traumatic stress disorder, but real talk. Richmond, every neighborhood in the United States that's been through some form of economic, political, or law enforcement targeting has folks that have these skill sets. Are y'all following me? Yeah. Like, I know, look, I'm sitting in this room, I don't know how many people in this room, but I know who's looking at me and who ain't right now. Because that's all I'm thinking about the whole time I'm talking to you, is how to make sense to you. So I know exactly who's looking at me skeptical, who wondering what the hell I'm talking about. I'm supposed to know. Why? Because I also want to know if you make a move too quick and I got to have somebody choke you out. That's a joke. Right? But dig it. You can't build that skill if cats got you like this all day. I'm not saying don't use it. I'm saying you can't just be. Look. This okay. It's being recorded. I don't mind saying it. You look. Real talk. Real talk. You can't just be an American. You can't just be an American. Okay. You can't just be an American. This is for all my immigrant brothers and sisters too. You can't just be an American. This is not a healthy place. We'll kill like 15,000 people to gun homicide in 1 year here. There's countries that can't even get 100. Okay? This is not a healthy place at all. So you can't just be this. This is not cool. We got people that hate themselves on a daily basis because they watch so much TV and get so much media that they actually think that their bodies is deformed when they just have a human body. We got people striving to get 4.5 GPAs so they can get into college they've never even been to. I want to get into a good school. I want to get into, what's a good school? I don't know, I heard that was good. From who? Well, from my friend. Did she go there? No, but she heard from her, that it's a great school. And plus, I see them everywhere. That ain't got nothing to do with the match between you as a student and the space as an institution. But I tell you right now, I say it all the time when I work with high school families too. A good school to you is the one with all white people in the brochure. If you break down the symbolism, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for white people in buildings that look like they're in London. And then folks be like, that's a good school, that's a good school. How do you know? Because I can name all the rich people that went there. Yeah, but if they was already rich, how do you know it helped them? Yeah. Right? I mean, it's crazy what some of the best scientists in the world go to. You don't know that. You don't even know scientists. Okay? Right? But you're getting that information through these mediums, right? And that's okay. That's very American. It's not exclusively American at all. Lots of countries are like that. But what I'm saying is that if you're from a history of historical targeting, okay, and you want that to change, simply moving up in the system that caused that targeting is not going to be enough. Yeah. Does that make sense? Simply moving up in the system that deported your grandmother during Operations Wetback 1 and 2, in which the United States gathered up people, largely from the Southwest and Southern California, put them on trains, and sent them to Latin America and Mexico. When they weren't even from Mexico, they was from East Los Angeles. We did that twice already. I don't know why Trump think he was proposing anything new. He wasn't. We already did it in the 20th century twice. Okay? The system that did that can't be the system you just want to move up in. If you want to move up in, you want to move up in it with an agenda. And that agenda requires a certain consciousness and certain training. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay, I'm almost done. Thanks for hanging in there. Almost done. Okay. So anyhow, after those statements were made and we had the Crime and Safe Streets Act passed around 1970 or so, might have been a little later, y'all already know this story. Our incarceration rates went from around 200,000 people in 1970 to 2.6 million by 2006. Yes? Okay? Making us, by 2006, of course, we incarcerated more people than anybody else in the world. Even China. China's 3 times our size. And we still incarcerated more people than China. Are y'all following this? Yeah. Which is strange, because you're the freest place in the world, but you got the most cats locked up, right? Which always tripped me out. Like, this is the freest country in free. So y'all got 2 million people in jail. You know what I'm saying? Like, other countries look at us like free, but ain't nobody free. They all locked up. You know what I mean? All right. And of course, there's complications when you're in jail with literacy and etc. I'm not going to go through all this stuff, but okay. So this is some of the stuff I'll actually be sharing with you. Isn't that a beautiful picture? So I actually don't want to go through all this because I'll be going through some of this with your faculty and counselors and administrators tomorrow. So I'm not going to go through all of this. This is where your college is at on the success scorecard. Okay, y'all see this? Okay, just so you know, this is West Los Angeles College. Okay, this is a more recent one. Okay, now I'm going to explain to your staff and faculty again why this is problematic. Okay, the chart itself as a tool is problematic. Okay, and then the numbers on it are also problematic. Okay? Okay. Is this remotely interesting to you?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna. I'll talk about it, then we'll move to some questions and comments. I'll say some other radical, crazy stuff. Draw some stuff on the board. We'll be done. How's that? Is that okay? Okay, word. So this is what you call a scorecard, student success scorecard out of the chancellor's office. It don't really tell you what it say it's supposed to be telling you, but it tell you a little something. Okay, I'm obviously a critic of most things. Okay. I think it was okay. Look, next to Oakland is this city called Alameda. It's an island city, kind of, right? Beautiful little town. My dad actually grew up there before he moved to Oakland when he came from Louisiana. Small town, okay? Mostly white, nice little town. It was a good little town, okay? They've had 2 homicides. 2 homicides in like 30 years. It's right next to Oakland. Like you just go under a tunnel, it's right there. 2 in like 30 years. Okay. Between 83 and 94, Oakland averaged 138 a year. And my senior year of high school has this record to this day, 175 that year. Most of them be under the age of 25. Okay. And so I was always tripping, right, off of how the hell we got these cities right next to our city. They don't have nobody killed. And we steady killing each other on a regular up in here. And you literally just go over the city line. And it's like peaceful. People drinking tea, coffee, walking dogs, and jogging and shit. And then you go back to your city, and there's some of that tea, drink peaceful, but it's also killing, right? And I just couldn't understand it, right? So I try to remind people that if I seem critical of like our practice as educators, critical of colleges, critical of systems, it's because I have a right to be. All right? My degree does not make me flawless. It doesn't make me above critique. Hell, the way I'm talking to you is because I'm accountable to people that ain't in this system. I'm accountable to my folks in the neighborhood. Like, D, is you real or is you not?
Right.
Is you up there faking? Is you try to, get in good with them cats? So what's up? Don't sell out. You know what I mean? That's old school since I was young. Like, no sellout. So I don't sell out. So it could mean I get fired. And I hope I don't get Professor Norris fired, but I'm trying to keep it real with you. So my critique of this is from that space, right? All I care about is you. You the one paying to come here. You the one that matter. Second to that is faculty and counselors and staff. They matter because they helping you. Y'all found that?
Yep.
The people who matter get less and less the more money they make. And I know you think it's switched, like the more money they make, the more important they are, but that's not real. That's only if you understand importance through status and money. If you understand it through connection and progress, the most important people are you. Y'all follow this? Mm-hmm. All right, look, there's 2 million people in the California community colleges. Did you hear what I just said? In California community colleges, there's 2 million. University of California serve about 170,000 people on all 10 campuses. Did you hear what I just said? All 10 campuses got about 170,000. Okay? CSU's about 500,000. All 23 campuses. The California community colleges, you can add UC to CSU, and they still don't make up the amount of people that the California community colleges have. You the most numerous. You the most grounded. You the ones raising kids while you going here. You the one that got full-time jobs while you going here. You the ones that, hey, I need to get into school, I'm going back. You the hustler. You the warrior. And the only way they can prevent you from rising up is to convince you that somehow you are less valuable than the folks at UC and CSU. How are you less valuable? You the one going to work. Oh man, I just go to West LA. That's all. Where you at? I'm at USC. Where you go? I just go to No! Don't hang your head down, man. Be quiet. I go to West LA. I pay less than you, learn the same shit. Hi.
Right?
You know what I'm saying? Like, how you doing? You know what I mean? Well, actually, my professors, like, you don't even know my professors. My professors go to work, they got jobs other than this job. My professors be out in the real world. They come in pissed off like I do. You ain't got professor, man. We come in, driving that commute, we get here like, damn it, just open your books. They'll be like, damn, what's wrong with him today? He just came from somewhere else. And the full-timers, they up here trying to hold it down. We be angry like you be angry. Okay? That's what make us real, man. Make us real, okay? All right. So, if we real like that, man, so cut us some slack. Cut community college instructors some slack sometimes, because we be going through it too, okay? And I'll be talking with them tomorrow about how to be more transparent about that, right? Like, don't take it out on the student if you're having a bad day. Just be like, yo, y'all, this is what I used to tell my students. Look, because I used to ride my motorcycle between the two colleges I taught at, right? Because I had like an hour to get there, and it's an hour distance. So I'd ride my motorcycle, and I'm weaving in and out of traffic, you know, the whole thing. And sometimes somebody almost killed me. And I walk in the room, somebody's like, you gave me an A-, and I wanted an A. And I wanted to slap him with my helmet. You know what I mean? And I would get that look. You know, y'all LA, y'all know. I get that look like, what the? And I'd be like, fix your face, Darrick, fix your face. You know what I'm saying? You're about to catch a case up in this joint, right? And so then I would say, I'm sorry, everyone. I almost got killed coming in here. My adrenaline's still running. Give me 10 minutes. Chill out. I'm going to take some breaths, okay? I don't want to take it out on you. And my students would always be like, ooh. You know what I'm saying? But if I come in and be like, look, just open your books. What? What? No, we ain't doing that today. Y'all be like, I hate him. Like, yeah, I hate him, right? Okay. So my critique of this is very simple, okay? You have 3 categories. This is your total completion rate. You have students that come in without needing basic skills, without needing to do remedial math and English. How many of y'all have to do basic skills or had to do it? Get in here. Okay, raise your hand. Don't be ashamed. Raise your hand. All right? 85%, 80 to 85% of community college students have to do that. Did you hear what I just said? Did you hear what I just said?
Yep.
Okay, that's not your fault. That's K-12's fault.
Yeah, it is.
Did you hear what I said?
Absolutely.
Okay, 50% of UC students have to do it. Did you hear what I just said?
Yep.
UC, 50%. That's how bad we are in education, K-12. Right? You know how your high school was. I ain't got to tell you. All right, so anyway, the students that don't need basic skills, they have a 64% completion rate. Certificate, AA, or transfer. Okay? Students that need basic skills, or what they call developmental classes, 31%. That's very low. Y'all found it? Combined total 35%. Now here's what, this is the last thing I'm going to say on this. This is the last thing I'm going to say. Trip off this. This is why I'll be mad at them. Okay? You know what I'm about to say. They rate this by looking at a cohort of students and following them over a 6-year period. What's wrong with that? What? It's supposed to be 2. You're supposed to get out of here at 2. It's like if I go to Cal and they're like, check it out. We have a very high success rate with students that stay here 12. Like 12 what? 12 years, right? It's like, well, what it look like in fall? We like to track it by 12. We like, that don't make no sense, okay? Same with the community college. You can't track a 2-year institution on a 6-year scale. So I don't know what the hell the completion numbers are around the state. I'm scared. If you put it at like 2 years, it might be like 5%, but I don't know. And by the way, that's not the fault of your instructors, by the way. Are you hearing me? We have some structural flaws I won't bother you with. Okay, so anyhow, that's my problem with this. Okay, can I raise this somehow? Okay, now I'm about to shut up because I only got about an hour left, 5 minutes left. So I'm going to shut up and I want to hear from you. Turn this off. Okay. So dig this real quick. Can you see this? Where y'all at? I'll write up here. Here. Can you see it here? Okay, cool. So I mentioned this idea of oppression, and this is what I want folks to understand. So usually wherever I go and I'm working with students, I just want them to know this. So I'm just going to share this with you and I'll shut up. Is that all right? Okay, I just want them to know this, okay? All right, and it's funny. There's a picture of me on Facebook doing this. Don't get on my Facebook. I'm not advertising for that. I mean, you won't be entertained. It's this, okay? So, but my point is, there's a picture of me on Facebook doing this. So if you see, oh yeah, man, you did that for me. Okay, but check it out. Okay, so, all right. So I talked about oppression in this way, and well, I talked about oppression. So up here, this is a construct for an oppressive structure, right? So we have up here the oppressor, and who would be at the bottom? Thank you. Okay, the oppressed. All right. Now it's very simple. These are the folks that hold some form of power. And privilege, these are the folks that that tend to have to struggle for any power or access to privilege. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. All right. So the ill part is that if you just have these two, okay, we call that war. Right? Conflict, right? That's conflict, that's war, that's beef, right? Somebody walk up, they put their foot on my neck. We ain't having a conversation. My first priority is to get that fool's boot off my neck. Yes? Now, depending on my consciousness, my second priority might be to understand why he chose that action. But if I have another perspective, my second priority is to make sure he never put his foot on my neck ever again. And that's my prerogative. That's my prerogative, right? I remember when Ferguson was going down. Y'all know Ferguson was going down. Everybody, people was like, we want them to exhibit peaceful protest. And I was like, that's weird. You trying to tell people how to respond? Don't tell me how to respond. I ain't gonna go off very well. Please, everybody, let's have a peaceful protest. I'm gonna have whatever protest I think is gonna be effective. So if peaceful work, I'm all for it. Show me it don't work, I'll choose another strategy. Okay? But don't tell me that I have to be peaceful. That's very odd. You always gotta be mindful of that. It's like when somebody is being abused and battered and say, this is the way you must handle it. No. No. That's not how empowered humans think. Empowered humans think, what is the most effective strategy? Okay? If we're in a beautiful society that allows us to do very peaceful, calm ways of handling things, I suggest you start with that. But at the same time, never let somebody else limit your responses. Okay? There's a myriad of options that one has. It's not just peaceful and violent. There's all types of ways you can respond to things. Okay? It doesn't have to be one or the other. Okay? But in this is what we call conflict. This is war. And what happens is when folks become more and more aware of this, and they're like, wow, this is a light bulb drawing. And folks are like, wow, it's not that I am worthless. It's not that I am somehow stupid. It's not that I am somehow destined to be less than. That I am at the bottom of a structure that intends for me to be oppressed. If I become aware of that, see, now the conflict is on. See, because I'm aware of my own subjugation. See, it's not natural. Like people drive to the neighborhood, oh man, the neighborhood's so dirty, that's just how they are. That is not just how they are. Where's the street cleaning here? What's the garbage pickup like? How many of these people own these homes? How many of these people have been evicted from numerous spaces before they moved here? This is not just how people are. It's part of a structure. Something's happening. And when we become aware of what's happening, we locate ourselves more and more in a conflict. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay. Now again, the conflict does not have to result in violent opposition, but it does have to result in opposition. Does that make sense? Therefore, if I am a power-hungry, power-holding individual, okay, and I don't want nobody to come and take my power, the first thing I want to do is convince them that they're not in a conflict, that things are just natural and normal. If I can convince them that this is just how it goes, then I'm not going to experience any resistance from them. Yeah. If I can convince them that immigrants are sneaking over the border to steal jobs and cause crime, I never got to have them trip off of how much they have in common with those immigrants. I never have to have them ask, what were the results of the North American Free Trade Agreement? What does unemployment look like in those countries? What happened to the control efforts on drug cartels? What was the army focusing on in various Latin American countries when they weren't focusing on the drug cartels? Who was utilizing them? I'm not going to give you responses to that. I just want you to trip off it. Because I'm not answering those questions if I just believe that it's normal for me to consider an immigrant coming over and stealing something from me rather than running from something that my government might have helped create. And then I can convince those poor folks that are coming over, yeah, you ain't no real citizen. Until you get a car, you ain't real. You know how I'm going to teach you that? Because I'm going to hunt your ass down until you get the proper paperwork. Fools out here causing crime and dirt on a regular basis. Some of them got badges on, but anyway, they run around doing dirt on a regular basis. Ain't nobody hunting them like they hunting people that's just here to get an education. And then we all normalize that like that's normal because we're not understanding ourselves in a similar condition in which we're part of a social structure of oppression. Does that make sense? Remember I said that like we all in the same boat, we all in the same boat. That's what I'm saying. It's just like math, yo. It's math. If there's somebody in power up here, and we know there's hella fools down here that are not having power. Hella fools. Sorry, that's not technical. There's a lot of people here, yes? Yes? Yes. Certain people got helicopters, certain people got Bentleys, most of us don't. Yes? Okay. So this number automatically outnumbered this number on top. So these people always going to be worried about this fat group coming at them all day. So the systemic methodology of preventing this type of thing is to make sure that this group actually sees itself as multiple groups. Yes? So you have black, you have white, you can have Latino, you can have Asian, you can have immigrant, citizen, whatever it may be. And then all your media messaging is about how this group is taken from that group and that group taken from that. And they can beef amongst each other while you sit pretty. Okay, that's just basic, that's basic social control. Yes? Now the only way you're going to do that is if you have systems substantial enough to message this stuff to enough people. And that's what we call media. Yeah. And that's all it is. I'm saying stuff you already know. I'm just framing. Y'all follow this? Okay, I don't assume you don't know. So here, in closing here, what Paulo Freire says is that, and Peter McLaren and, Dave Hill and all these other, okay, sorry, Professor Scott. All right, so point is that what we have here then is going to be something that takes this from being a conflict and changing it to a system. And that's what I mentioned in this role here, the sub-oppressor. Okay? The sub-oppressor, I drew a dotted line here because the sub-oppressor is someone that comes from the group of the oppressed but serves the purposes of the oppressor. Okay? Easy things to think of: corrupt police officers versus good ones, corrupt teachers versus good ones, pimps, dope dealers, abusive spouses, boyfriends and girlfriends abusive. Yes? These are folks that come from the same spot you in, but do the work of oppressing. Okay? They are the buffer. They're the ones that we have the struggle with, and we never get to the actual system itself. All right? All I'm recommending to you is that you keep both in mind at all times. Okay? You want to make sure that you are challenging these folks and thinking and challenging these folks as well. Remember, consciousness. And most importantly, you are working to not be this. I hear this from folks all the time. I can't wait to run my own company. I don't give a shit if you run your own company. It's how you run your own company. I want to own properties. I'm going to own multiple. That's nice. I'm glad you want to own land. But I'm concerned with what you're going to do with it. You know, it's like they say in neighborhoods, man. I don't care if you got a gun. It's what you do with that shit. I mean, a lot of people got guns. What you going to do with it? A lot of people got access to stuff, but what do you do with it? And now you are a college student, so you're getting this knowledge and information. You're getting access to information. So the question is, what you going to do with it? And nobody interested in whether you drive a Benz or not. They ain't gonna change the poverty level in your neighborhood. Because once you get the Benz, you're moving out anyway. So they ain't gonna shift nothing. Your ability to put together the latest app ain't gonna shift nothing. Good, I'm glad, happy people use the app. People are happier using your damn app. That's really nice. Okay? But does the app have a social justice idea behind it, or do you do something in your off time to address the needs of human beings, not just your pocket? Now, I'm not advocating that you stay broke. Don't stay broke. And I'm not even advocating that you are broke, okay? But I'm not saying stay in the situation you're in. I'm saying you got to be mindful that you're part of a human society of people. And they're impacted by you, not just companies and advertising, by you. You. When I work with high school principals, I say, man, if people walk your hallways and they get called nigga all day, don't tell me about your test scores, because I don't care. Why would I care about your test scores when girls can't make it through a year and be called brilliant or a genius or powerful once? Once! Once! Why would I care about their GPA and test score? You're creating flawed individuals. You're manifesting dehumanized individuals, right? You're in a capitalist system. You're in a pseudo-capitalist system, not purely capitalist, but because if it was purely capitalist, we wouldn't have bailed out any banks. But the point is that we're in a pseudo-capitalist system. Look, check what I'm saying. Look, man. This is not me. This is Herbert Marcuse, right? False needs. It's the idea kind of like, as a human, like, as soon as you're born in this type of society, they begin stripping you of your self-esteem. And then you spend the rest of your life buying it back. They strip you real early. You spend the rest of your life trying to purchase it back. Hey, look what I got, yo, I'm important. Hey, look what I'm wearing, yo, I'm important. Look at me now, look, I'm important. Because something happened throughout your youth. And I'm not saying your family, because many times the families was holding it down, but sometimes your family too, yeah? Strip you, and then you spend your life, okay? So that's the type of stuff we want to be mindful of. We want to be mindful that we're not manifesting this system through our daily words and action. That our words sound like this: hey, what's up, man? It's good to see you. Oh, man. See, you hear the affirmation in it? Like, hey, man, you know why I appreciate you, man? Because you always been a strong person. I just want to let you know. Hey, you know why I appreciate you? Because you always help me out. You're a really kind person. That's what it sound like. And that's directly to people. But even sometimes when we're discussing people, we discuss them in the ways in which oppression frames them. Oh, man, I'm telling you, let me tell you how some of these bitches are, man. Let me tell you, man. Oh, yeah, man, that's how they be, though, man. That's you. That system's working through you. I ain't saying you can never cuss, because I cuss all the time. Okay? But the context of how you discuss individuals, again, shapes your reality. Right? I always tell folks, like, Beyonce and walk in the room, everybody like, oh my God, it's Beyonce. But if Beyonce went to school with you, you'd be like, I hate that bitch. And the only difference is, she went to school with you. And since you ain't shit, she ain't shit. Real talk. Real talk. I hate the dudes around here. I need to find me a dude somewhere else. Word, I feel that. Expand your horizon. But if he ain't nothing, it ain't because he from where you from. That's not the reason, right? It's because he crazy. Okay? But it ain't because he from next door. Because if he crazy, then all y'all crazy because you from there. Are y'all following that? Okay, anyway, so I had a whole bunch of points, but I want to stop and shut up so we can have like a good 35, 40 minutes of listening to you. So my grand point is, well, I said in the beginning, right? I'm not saying that your struggles through community college are your fault. Did you hear what I said? Did you hear what I said? Yeah. Okay. All this energy and anger is not aimed at you. I want to be clear about that because people misinterpret. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm chocolate, right? All right? This is not. No, I'm serious. You walk into space, be like, oh, he mad at me. He mad at me. You know what I'm saying? Call security. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that, right? What I'm saying is that this is how it's been. Okay? To have not to never intended to have, period. And the people that got these systems in place, your instructors that come to work with you, your counselors, many of your administrators that come here to work with you, many of them are coming to battle this system from within. So what they need is your partnership and your understanding that that's the situation. Does that make sense? Now, there's a lot of stuff they need to fix to help you out. Lots of stuff. Okay? But whenever I work with students, I want them to leave some time with me understanding what the situation is. This ain't no damn game at all. At all. And when you find yourself bored, I don't give a shit. Wake up. When you find yourself falling asleep and not wanting to class, I'll go to class. Oh, trust me, I feel you. And that's a real feeling. Sometimes you gotta take a break. Sometimes you gotta take a break. That's real. But get your ass in class. Okay? Because if it was all meant to be super interesting to you, it would have been interesting 50 years ago. You ain't supposed to be interested. You following this? You ain't supposed to feel right. Oh, I hate that. You ain't supposed to like things that are about your liberation. Some of the shit you like is about your total subjugation. And you've been trained that way. We're socializing that way. Certain things are exciting because they're normal. And they're normal because they demean us. So you'd be like, I love that. That's dope. I'm not going to go to that because that's boring. Well, it's probably boring because it's something new. And it's presented in a way that's not as exciting. But it could be the secret to you saving yourself. And that's why it's hard. School isn't hard because it's hard to remember shit. It's hard because you got to have endurance to make it through some of this stuff. Teacher come in, all right. I'm going to do chapter 3. Questions at the end of the day. And you're like, for real? I did not take 3 buses here for that, y'all. Okay, we only have about 3 hours left. So I have a 2-hour lecture, and then we'll do some group work. And you're just like, like you like giggle sometimes, like I can't freaking believe I'm paying for this, man. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. But regardless of that situation, this is the battle. This is part of the battle for you. Are you hearing me? This is the battle. It ain't just shady cats. It ain't just people trying to rob you. It ain't just the rent. It ain't just the light bill. It's being able to sit through this. Are y'all following this? Yeah. So toughen up. And when cats would be like, man, that college stuff is easy. Be like, dude, you have no idea. Ain't nothing easy about the 4 hours I just went through. I found myself trying to cut my throat with my pen. You know what I'm saying? Just like, oh no, right? Okay. All right? And again, that's okay. Just push through it. Okay? Was this helpful at all? Yes. Okay. Then I'll shut up now. Thank you. Questions, comments of anything? Because we still got some time. All right. Thank you. Yes. Yeah.
But I find myself in a disease like this about myself.
23.
Right? And I work for the top
Hold on real quick. For those of you that are leaving, please do it quietly. But the session is not over because, and y'all can leave, but let me tell those of you guys that are still here. Check it out. Hold on that question. Okay? Come on, let us answer. Check this out. When you're trained that the only valuable voices are the ones with degrees, you've already lost. You don't have to just listen to me, and you certainly don't ever have to listen to anybody that just has power and authority. Listen to each other. The wisdom is not in the damn college. Information's in the college. Wisdom is created by you. Okay? So when your colleagues speak, your classmates speak, listen to them like they're teaching you, because they are. Alright? We don't ever want to miss the opportunities to learn from each other, man. You bring knowledge to these spaces. You bring experiences to these spaces. Alright? And so when you're in class and people say, hey, I got a question, I got something to say, focus on that person. And they're also, and last thing, they're a reflection of you. They paying like you. If you can't listen to them, then that means that nobody should be listening to you. And that's not right. Okay? So, I know that some of y'all have places to go, so I'm not trying to guilt you into staying. I just wanted to make sure that was the point. Okay? All right, go ahead, brother. 23. Go ahead.
So it's like, I see this like circle that most of my peers in here are going in, right? It's like I work in class, but it's like I'm in school.
Stop again. Please go quietly. Thank you.
And then I try to like do without my dream.
Right. Right.
So I noticed like, dang, I go to school and make backpacks, I ain't got no money. I can't go to work. It's taking my time. But if I do my backpacks and I go to work, I can't do school. It's like, what do I do? And then people like, well, I'm gonna take the semester off. And then I never seen them do it. I never seen them. But I seen them, and she got a kid.
What's your question?
Or like, I don't know like how to beat that. Like circle, how do I beat that circle when I'm doing everything? Like, I guess how people or whatever, like how you do it.
Okay, that's a great question. I love that question. What's your name?
My name is
Dawood?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, buddy. So, I had a slide, but the point is that the overwhelming majority, and this is from a Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation study, the overwhelming majority of students that leave community college leave because of economic reasons, because they need to work. That's throughout the country, all right? So that's not some unique thing to you, right? This is a national phenomenon. But in terms of trying to balance these two, how should I put it? I can just be straight with y'all, right? I've been straight with y'all the whole time. Okay, so liberation is not going to come without blood. Blood. I'm not talking about other people's blood. I'm talking about violence. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about suffering. Blood. And that might mean, damn, I'm losing money. But it's one of those moments, and this is why I said, and I don't want to sound like I was accusing y'all of like taking education lightly, because I don't know you like that, and I don't believe that about you. I'm just framing it as it's a battle, not a leisurely activity. Y'all follow what I'm saying? So when you have this conflict between work and school, you do the best with it that you can. But you're going to lose some sleep, you're going to lose some fluids, you're going to lose perhaps some blood on trying to do this. Okay? And when I was running my high school, I used to remind my teachers, like, if this is a struggle for social change against the most militarized, the most militarily equipped country in the world, with a history of direct violence and torture upon working class people, what makes you think this shit gonna be easy? You gonna hurt. You might miss a meal or two from trying to go to school. That's been the struggle of your parents and grandparents and great-grandparents. Y'all know this. Some of y'all are parents right now. Think about the shit you do to make sure your children eat. All right? That's what this is. So I'm not going to tell you what the proportion should be or the percentages, because that's not my call. That's your life. Are you hearing me? But don't get it twisted. You want an education in the United States, all right, as opposed to like Belgium or the other wealthier countries that give it to you for next to nothing, or Canada right up the way, okay? You want a higher education in the United States, you're going to have to pay for something, and it's going to hurt, okay? So I want you to just know that, okay? It doesn't have to hurt as much as certain places and others, but be prepared to lose a meal, be prepared to not have some shit that you want to come and get this. And if you know some of your adjunct professors that teach here part-time, they giving blood just to be here and teach sometimes. All right? So we do this as one, but this ain't, don't believe the white picket fence American dream thing, like you just work hard and everything gonna flow. It's more than work hard. It's work hard and lose some shit. It's work hard and hurt. I could tell y'all stories. I'm not going to get into it, but it's serious business going on out there. Serious business. People sitting in class with you, or some of y'all in here is homeless right now. Straight up. Cats couch surfing. Trying to go to school. That's what this is. You know what I mean? And I don't want to be all depressing about it, because it's not depressing to me. Because victory is also glorious. I'm trying to tell you, I don't want to sound like a preacher because I ain't been to church in 10 years. Actually 20. But anyhow, I haven't been to church in a long time, okay? Because I'm Catholic and anyway, long story. The point is that that is, when you win, can't nobody take that from you. I swear. Like, I ain't even tripped. I go home and cats be, I'm from Oakland. I work in San Francisco, so I'll be in Oakland all the time. I see my parents every 2 weeks, right? So, and cats will see me in the street, like, D, what up, baby? What up, baby? Good to see you, right? You know what I mean? They like, blood, I heard you was Dr. Smith now. What's the deal? And I'd be like, oh, yeah, that happened. Like, dude, man, we proud of you, bro. You know what I mean? And because I'm at work, I don't be tripping off it. But when I see my folks, they be like, dude, man, that's what we want. We did it. You know, it's like when Biggie Small said, we did it, Brooklyn. You know what I mean? Like, that's you now.
For your whole clique, your whole family. It's you now. But nobody know what we went through to get there. You know what I'm saying? They don't know the pain and the suffering. People assume, oh, you're a white guy. You ain't been through nothing. That's bullshit. You done been through something? Oh, man, you a woman. You a pretty woman. Pretty women are. That's bullshit. We done all been through something. So make that shit count. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, I get excited, okay? Because when you're done, you're going to look back and be like, I did that. I did that. You know what I'm saying? And can't nobody steal it from you. So I can't tell you the percentages, but you're going to have to give up a little to get it here. The United States don't give nothing for free, except a trip to jail. And that costs, too. Real talk, fees. Other questions, comments, please. Yes, sir.
How can we overcome oppression in a peaceful way?
How do you overcome oppression in a peaceful way?
Yeah.
Meaning non-violent.
Yeah, like two wrongs don't make a right.
Right, great. So, well, it's not impossible because, so we want to see this thing in more of an extended temporality, right? An extended timeline, right? So if you understand that the generations before you have been fighting too, yes, and they're just passing it on, okay? Then some of the other tactics that might be more aggressive have been implemented before, okay? So it's not on you to say, I'm going to choose direct violent conflict. It's not that. I said, right, it's about whatever works. Y'all follow this? So, this is really outing myself here, but so I teach students, my graduate students, I'm trying to think of the best way to call it. Well, okay. So I believe in infiltration. It's non-violent, but it can be aggressive without any violence whatsoever. And that's what I train people to do. That's what I taught all of the 800 high schoolers I've ever taught. And my entire school took on a theme of social justice, and in that we wanted to have an infiltration agenda. Okay? So what that means is you're moving into spaces with the skill set and the intent to transform the space. Okay? Now the beauty is that we can move into these spaces because of the generations before us. There was a time when if you was Irish, there's certain jobs your ass couldn't get, straight up. Okay? If you was a German or Russian immigrant, Jewish, Polish, your ass ain't getting certain jobs, period. Okay? Go down to the docks, go work the wharf, whatever, but you ain't walking your ass up in here. Okay? Same thing with Latinos, African Americans, Asian Americans, etc. Okay? So folks had a lot of conflicts, direct conflicts, and then policy work to open these doors for you to get in. But the trick is, they didn't open the door for you to get in and just do the same thing. They opened the door for you to get in and do the right thing. So well, you can make shifts, and this is to me how most modern shifts in America are actually made. People are already in positions and getting into positions to do it differently. And they had to maintain that consciousness and that focus throughout every step of their career. Okay? So if you're preparing yourself to do that, and you get into these spaces and you do it at every level you're at, that's social change, no doubt. And you don't have to have any type of violent perspective or anything for that, and it would be ineffective to be violent. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah. I saw a hand here. And then we come back. Yes, sir.
Well, first and foremost, I wanted to thank you very much for coming here to West Los Angeles College and being able to give your wisdom in terms of not only how you see it just from your standpoint, but also from the generational standpoint. So it's actually common. So in relation to that, I actually had a parent, actually two parents. Both of them kind of, I guess you could say, gave up in some ways. But they gave up to sacrifice for us, for my brothers and sisters. But specifically, I remember when I was coming back to school, it's kind of like, well, aren't you a little bit too old to come back to school? That's what I heard from my mother. Then when I was thinking about quitting school, thinking about getting a job, that's when my father was kind of like, well, you're going to have to make those sacrifices and you're going to have to quit them. But then I had to look at it, because they probably don't realize I do like a little social research or a little study on them, is that they were broken, and they were a part of that generation that was born after the Black Panther Party, etc. Because they were born in the early 50s, but while they came up to that, they had to deal with a lot of things that pretty much broke them down all the way to the point that it's my generation. So I'm a part of the millennials. I was born in the 80s.
Okay.
But But I think what happened is that when you break somebody down, and it's taught in so many ways to break people instead of building. That's what for some of our cases, that's what it led to us being.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us don't realize that. We were broken in different ways one without actually being given the opportunity to actually be.
Sure.
And some of us don't even know that we're aggressors. And I can even say in this, excuse me, like when you talk about how the best way to deal with different things that ties into that, you have to develop a different dimension of empathy. It's more so on the level that ties into actually looking at and saying, okay, now while I know this person came from this particular background, how does this correlate to what I'm doing? How does this correlate to the needs of what they're going to need after I get out of school or being at community college? Because it's like, yeah, I can advance and I can get a doctorate, but at the same time, am I really living up to that standard of being a doctorate or being a doctor? Do I really look at it in terms of not only how does this tie in to them, but how does this tie into the generation that's going to come back?
Word. That's real.
So looking at it from all different perspectives, I can really look at it and say, what you're doing is planting the seeds that ties into what we need to do, or the priorities of what we have right now, but also for our children, for the people in our community, and for the world at large.
Word.
And one of the things I always say is that look at yourself in terms of the deficits in society at large, but also see yourself as contributing to it on a much more profound level. Look at yourselves as not only being a profound gift, but also an asset to all of what you do, even to yourself.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah. Do I truly believe that equality could be achieved? So I'm thinking about the question, and I think it's a great question. So this is what I think. I see it like this, simply. That's how I see it. It's a balancing thing. Periods to where folks feel like they're losing, periods where progress is made and goes back and forth. Okay? I don't work because I believe one day there'll be equality, because I'm sure things will be beautiful one day, but I don't know when the hell that is. And I'm 41. I only got 100 years left on the planet. You know, in my science fiction mind, right? I'll be Yoda, you know what I mean? So I don't know. What I do know, and this is my perspective, I don't advocate that anyone else takes this perspective. Are you hearing me? Hello? Okay. But it's a great question, because you asked what I believe. I believe that I'm not going to stand here and do nothing. I got one life. If I'm going to live it, I'm going out swinging. Yep. And that's it. And I don't know what's going to happen in the end, but look, man, there's so many things I could tell you about, but I had a student in my school once that was had numerous fights, abused his girlfriend in front of staff. This is in a high school. Was threatening other students, and had been there already 3 years when I got there. Okay, so he was a senior when I got there, and the staff liked him, I guess, because he was articulate. You know, my mom used to call it the Denzel Washington syndrome. When a black man can form sentences, everybody's all impressed. And so he was articulate. Oh, he's so articulate, which I'm black. I've seen articulate black people before. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't allow him to slap his girlfriend or order her around in art class. And folks were like, well, he's graduating this year, and so that's it. So I could have just been like, cool, well, we only got 1 year with him. But I was like, he's not going to be able to continue this now that I'm here. And the way he behaves when I talk to him, he's really cocky and arrogant. My goal, and I told his mama this, your child will not graduate with a diploma from this school, I swear. And the mom was like, y'all all hate my child. I was like, the child already has violated the school too much, and he will not leave with this school's name on his diploma. I'm trying to get rid of him before we even hit February. And she was like, you can't tell me that. I know you have some. Definitely have some against your child, for sure. Absolutely. Let's be crystal clear what I have against your child. He's already committed enough abuses that he should have been gone a year ago. So I want you to know clearly that if he messes up some more, he's gone for sure. I'm just waiting. Just waiting. It didn't take long. It only took like a week after I told him. Right? And I'm not going to tell that whole story, but the point is that we went back and forth. I went for an expulsion because he ended up, he threw a chair at another student. On the way to do it, he hit his teacher, accidentally hit her in the face with the chair, and then threw it across the room, called another dude a nigger. And so I was like, cool, now I get to expel him. You know what I mean? And the staff was like, I don't know if you can expel him. I'm going to expel him, no doubt. Then we went to the district, and the district said, well, you know, he's actually classified special education. You know, he's a highly functioning, very smart kid. But he's classified special education, so we can't move him. And I was hurt, and the mom was like, see, I told you my child wouldn't graduate from your school. I said, hey, my word still stands. I said, from now on, every mistake you make, there's 26 reasons a kid can be suspended in the Oakland, San Francisco School District. There's 26 reasons, okay? If he does one of them every time, I'm suspending him every time. And it was like literally a week later after I told her that. He did something, I suspended him. Took 4 more suspensions. And then she was like, I'm taking him out of this school. I hate this place. And I was like, oh, you know what I mean? How sad. And he was gone. And so when folks ask, and I still have his diploma to this day. It's like a trophy. And he went to another school. They had a lot of support for him, and he graduated. Okay? But he didn't graduate from my school acting the same way he was acting. Are y'all following this? And so in the end, some of the staff folks was like, you were so adamant about getting rid of him. Do you think that that one thing was going to transform the whole school? No. But we could not transform with him here. And as long as I'm here, my students will be safe in this school. Just because you got black and brown students in the school don't mean their behavioral boundaries as adolescents should be reduced. If you're worried about suspending too many kids, that's the thing you should be worried about. But you never reduce the behavioral standards for teenagers. And him and I had plenty of conversations. So my point is that as long as I'm here, I'm going to do what's right. Because that's all I got. I only got one life. I'm not Obama. I'm not the president. I just got my life and what I can impact, okay? And so I stay in communication with people. I try to understand what other people's idea of fairness is so I can be responsive to what they feel they need. As an educator, I want to be supportive and give people the proper resources they need. But in the end, when it's time for me to go, I can't be judged on whether or not all of society has changed. I'm just one person. But as one person, I have a lot of impact because I'm a human and I know people, right? So I'm going to be the best person I can be for what's right until I go. And if that contributes to the next stage, cool. If it doesn't, well, I did my part, and that's it. So I don't know. I don't know if equality would ever be achieved. But I know I ain't about to be here like no seven. But, okay, let me get to everybody. Raise your hand so I can see. Professor Norris, can you help me with just keeping track of it? Okay, so I want to swing and come like that. Is that okay? I'm going to swing like, yes.
So you said you want to use the word success. I want to see what is success. You said it has effects on our target and our purpose. So I want to see what is success.
I think success should be defined by the individual, and if it's an institution, the institution needs to take very careful steps to define that collectively, right? So usually schools define success by numbers, okay? Which is okay to me if you say, hey, we're successful, but we're only successful in the way that the numbers are measured, okay, right? So if I'm an educator and I say, hey, are you guys successful? I can say we're successful at graduation rates. No, but are you successful? We're successful at graduation rates, our GPAs are pretty high. But are you successful? Well, there's different ways in which we can be successful, and that's not lost on me, right? And so I'm aware
We're not successful at our sexual harassment rates. We're not successful at our sexual assault rates. We're not successful at our abuse or assault rates generally. We're not successful at our faculty accountability rates. We're not. So I want to be very conscious as an institutional leader about all the things we need to be successful at, rather than just reducing it all to one measurement, right? So I believe that similar to families and individuals, you need to define that for yourself. I mean, to me, I have a few things here and there, but I don't define my own success based on how many things I have. You know what I mean? And this is, I'm not a good role model for this either, but I don't even define myself as a good professor until my students say so. I don't know. People are like, are you good at what you? I have no idea. You need to ask my students last semester. Because all the faculty in the room know I can suck in the fall and be dope in the spring. You know what I mean? I can be really good in them last 3 weeks. It was horrible like the first. So I let my students define on how good I am. And it'll be like that for the rest of my life. That in the end, was he a good educator? Well, you'll be able to ask all my students and they can decide. So that's for me. As a family person, I don't have any children. I'm not married. And so I don't have like a son or a wife to be like, how am I as a family man? But my mama can say, he's a great son, right? So we want to just multiply the different categories into what's real to us. And then we can look at each and be like, how good am I at that? Because we're complex beings. Does that help? Okay, word, thank you. Next. Yes, go ahead.
So hi, my name is Sandeep Anand.
Hi.
I've got 2 questions.
Okay.
Many authors have mentioned about the different, like the history, the differences of the American system did with the different colors.
Okay.
So currently, what is the stage? It's not the same stage what it was before. So currently, what is the stage and how much the problem has been solved?
Okay. So my quick answer to that, and you're talking about racism and racial stratification. Okay. So my quick answer is that I don't believe it's changed significantly. Okay. Still at the bottom of the totem pole is Native Americans. Okay. Native Americans are usually by and far the most impoverished group in the United States. Okay. Still the most exploited group in terms of resources and mineral extraction off of reservation land of any other group that has land expropriation. I think you'll find in education, you'll find in housing, health rates. Shortly after that, you'll find African Americans. You'll have various immigrant groups. So and then Latinos vary, okay? And different Latinos by country, you have to look at their national origin. That's also similar to Asian communities as well. Certain Asian communities have more success economically than others, and that's been the case for a long time too. So I don't feel it's dramatically changed. I feel that there's been progress in certain areas, but it hasn't dramatically changed in my eyes. So that's my.
So the only change is like more African Americans are in good jobs today, but it's their success, what they have succeeded.
Yeah.
But the system is the same almost.
Yeah, and again, quickly, I'll just say this, that there's more people in more jobs in general, right? So you have, all boats rising. And then folks would be like, well, black people have more jobs than they used to. Yeah, a lot of people have more jobs than they used to. But you remember when I said that stat, there was only 200,000 people in prison in 1970? Okay, 90,000 of that was African American. Okay, when it hit 2 million, 980,000 of that was African American. The percentage of African Americans in jail has remained the same since 1970. All right, the numbers have changed, but the percentages have remained the same, right? So there's been progress in different areas, but when you talk about racial stratification, I don't believe it's changed that dramatically. And there's still an enormous number of white people that are impoverished and living below the poverty line. And there's not enough discussion, right, on how many people, we have a little bit over, is it a little bit over 50 million people living under the poverty line, something like that? It's only 300 million people, 300 million people in the United States, 50 million of them live below the poverty line. I mean, that's not a dramatic shift from 1980, right? So anyhow, hopefully that answers your question. All right. And I'll take the next ones really quickly, so if I start speaking fast, please don't feel disrespected. Is that all right? Okay, so I'm going to go quick. So we'll go here real quick, and then we're going to swing up.
The education system finds it so important to shape a student. What agenda is the government following?
There is no one agenda, I believe, that the government is following. I think it's a great question. We want to remember that schools, what made No Child Left Behind was so important was that you had this kind of federal imposition into what was normally a state matter. Education is usually a state issue. Okay, so I don't assert that there's one government agenda. What I'm asserting is that there is a normalized institutional culture, meaning that a set of beliefs that are normalized throughout practitioners and researchers around the country that asserts that black and brown and low-income white people are somehow inherently deficient, and thus they must be either controlled or infantilized. Okay? And in that culture, you'll see it in research, you'll see it in policy. I mean, I mentioned suspensions, right? You know, LA and San Francisco and Oakland decided to try to stop suspending people for defiance, okay? Which is fine because you over-suspend people for defiance, but that's not how you handle the situation, right? You're doing it based on an infantilized, unsophisticated look at school discipline problems, okay? One, you don't have the same policy and discipline for an elementary school and a high school. You never do that because they're at different developmental stages, okay? Two, if you have a problem with suspending too many black and brown folks, that's not a problem with the policy, it's a problem with your racism, okay? Three, if you have hostile, violent schools, we have just under 900,000 reported victimizations in American schools a year, which is supposed to be underreported by 80%, making our schools very violent places. Statistically, schools, a student ages 12 to 18 is more likely to be victimized on a school campus than in their neighborhood. Okay? So schools are very violent places. So now to pass a policy where you're not suspending anybody from the violent space means that the space will continue to be violent as hell. Okay? So that's an infantilized, unsophisticated view that is a ramification of institutional culture, of how certain communities are devalued and not viewed properly. So I would never think that there's a federal government approach that automatically makes everything so, but I would say that there's policies and practices in place that stem from a racist, sexist culture that permeates into practice, that makes it seem like there's a government agenda, when it's just good old-fashioned American racism. Yeah. Okay, next person. Yes.
Back to your student. Do you think that if you and that child mother was on the same cord, if y'all on the same page with things, you could have helped them?
Yes.
I feel like you kind of added to the problem because y'all weren't trying to be on one accord, and that's a lot of what's going on right now in the school system. The parents and the teacher are at war when the child is what's supported.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think that, so again, when I keep saying quickly, I'm saying quickly to myself, just so y'all know, okay? So I have this dialogue a lot, right, around the country, because I'm the guy saying, you better suspend teenagers, okay? And so folks will be like, no, that adds to a problem. Most of them cats don't know shit about the problem. If I'm going to get pocket checked, it ain't going to be by a teacher, it's going to be by a student. If I'm going to get robbed, if my girlfriend going to get harassed, it ain't going to be by no goddamn teacher, it's going to be by a student, okay? And by the way, you come in my house and you harass my sister in my house, you don't get to come in my house no more. You steal something from my mama, you ain't coming back tomorrow. The hell is shit? I ain't never been to a community where I get to violate the people in the spot and then come back tomorrow. Or even kick it, just go to another room. That ain't never happened. Blood, did you just go in my mama's purse? Yeah, blood, I needed 10. Is that wrong? Yeah, blood, you can't steal from my mama. Okay, can I wait in the kitchen? No! Get the hell out my house, bro. We'll talk about this and maybe we can resolve it, but okay? So my approach to teenage discipline is community-based. It's historically congruent with ethnic communities. Historically congruent with ethnic communities, okay? So it's not I'm sending this kid to jail. It's not I don't give a shit what happens to you. But it's like you have demonstrated that you cannot stay here, okay? No student, I was only there before I got sick. I was there 2 years. Our test scores went up 60 API points. We had the highest attendance improvement in District 7, right? I was only there 3 years before I got sick, okay? In those 3 years, I only expelled 2 students, okay?
My suspension, I gave out a lot of suspension days, but there are only one, each student only got suspended once. I had very few repeaters. I spent 20 minutes with a student every time I suspended them, 20 minutes. Talking about our values as a social justice school, how important they are to our school and our community, and how we care about them, and this is their school. Thus, they cannot violate a place where they act. If you acted that way and it was all white people, your ass would probably go to jail. Why do you think you get to act like this? Because there's a bunch of black and brown girls here. You think you could slap a white girl on her ass and think you're gonna be good? Why do you think you can do it to black and brown girls? And I would ask my faculty, what makes you think it's okay for black and brown children to assault and harass each other? Well, we don't want to throw them out. That's your guilt. That's your guilt. I'm talking about their safety. If we do it right, they know they get to come back. It's all love when they come back. And by the way, if you ask my co-director, my former co-director, Matt Alexander, he's still there. You can email him and ask him. Okay? 90% of the students that I suspended, when we would be done with suspension, they say, thank you, Mr. Smith. Because the conversation was not a demonizing conversation. You ain't a bad person. You ain't an evil person. You a teenager. You're supposed to screw up. My job is to make sure you know what the boundaries are. And then you can expect consequences when you screw up. So kids would come in and be like, I know what you're about to do. Good. So that changes the conversation. Let's talk, man. Why'd you do it? What do you need? Man, I was just mad, man. I ain't even ate nothing. Oh, man, we need to get you food then. All right, so we're going to get you on. Miss Maria has food for you. All right, let's just make sure we get that straight. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, thanks, Mr. Smith. Okay, but you still got to do a day or two suspension because we can't have people violate each other. We in the same community. You ain't the only one that ain't ate. I have the teacher's right. His mom is on crack. We serve the same community, so he ain't the only one with a mama on crack. So don't excuse what he did. He needs consequences. This is how we develop the disciplined individual. Not disciplining as punishment. Develop the disciplined individual by having clear, consistent, and fair consequences. And you're consistent, so they don't feel they're being picked on. All right? And then you resolve the threats that they might be responding to. Right? So as a principal, I would say there's no bullying here. There's only going to be one bully here, and I ain't no bully. I'm an anime fan, so I can't be a bully. Okay? But there will be no bullies here. I'll get rid of you in a heartbeat. No doubt. Okay? And students will be like, that's real. You know high schoolers, right? I say, I don't love none of y'all because I don't know you. And they'd be like, that's real. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm from Oakland. I don't know you like that, right? So I don't love you. But don't trip. I don't need to love you to do this right. I need to respect you and your community to do it right. Okay? So I'm going to do this right. And my worries about telling you that I love you is that some of y'all might try and get on my good side, and then you get worried that I love this student more than the other student, and there's favoritism, there's lack of fairness, it's all bad. So just understand, I don't love none of y'all, right? And then I'll stay consistent with that, right? And folks will be like, that's real. So that was the interaction. So when the parent was not on the same page, okay, I'm not worried about that because he's a teenager. He's not 9. So I want to see if him and I are on the same page. So even if his mama hates the school, can he function in this place underneath the expectations? And if you show routinely that you can't, I'm not going to sit in my adult privilege and be like, let me give him one more chance, because that's an adult speaking. Okay? If I'm a kid and this fool is 6'2" and he taking money from me, and you letting that happen and you an adult here, then what I'm going to do? I'm going to come to defend myself. And that's when you get knives and guns coming. So, and all that, I don't want none of that. You know what I'm saying? I don't want no guns, I don't want no knives, I want you to feel safe. So if you threaten this community enough times, you're a student, so you're going to get 2 or 3 chances. But after that, your ass is going to another school. Period. And we're going to all be skipping around here hella happy and brown. You know what I mean? Okay. I want to get the last few here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Okay.
5.
Okay, cool. And I'll do this quick. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so I kind of noticed like on the side, I make 2 things. So I was developing an application.
Yes.
2 of them. And on the other side, I try to do like music here and there.
Yeah.
And I come to notice like people are usually oppressed, trying to extrapolate from this chart right here. They're more inclined to like more distractful things. You know, this is an inferential.
Sure.
Black guy, you know, I'm not talking about everybody.
Sure.
And like, say you create something that's like distractful, like a Snapchat or something. They'll be like, oh yeah, I like this, you know. Or are we trying to create something that's trying to gather everyone to like exchange, info based on what they can do?
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm like, yeah, like, it's cool, but it's not as effective as the, more distracting. Or you do music,
Yeah,
trying
that's
to do
true.
something uplifting, It's like, it's dope, it's whatever, but you do something like more lit. It's like, oh, okay, everybody mess with it,
Right.
So my question is, how do you uplift and oppress the community without holding yourself down,
Okay, let me ask you this. So many of you have stayed behind. I appreciate this, or stayed through the entirety. Was this an okay presentation? Okay. All right. So what I've done is I've snuck in stuff that's located in some of it is some very boring ass books. Okay. And whatever I was able to do, y'all found it halfway interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So my intention is not to bore the hell out of my students. But my other intention is to teach them at a level that is higher than the level that they might be expecting to be taught. Does that make sense? So when we're designing things, we have to be able to make that mix. We have to negotiate the fact that people are socialized to be interested in certain things and also wanting to be distracted from others. Okay? And so that's what makes it difficult, right? How do you design something that people are going to be into? And by the way, hip-hop artists and R&B artists have done this for many generations, right? Like if I'm a hip-hopper and I'm rhyming, how do I put something dope, that's also meaningful? That's hard. Especially as the public becomes dumber. Like, they're like, oh man, that word got 3 syllables, man. I ain't trying to hear that, right? So all I'm going to say is you're identifying a challenge, and that's what you sit and figure out. I mean, that's what you sit and figure out. The way I always did it was by combining some of the things that people get excited about with the stuff that is deeply relevant to them, right? So you're not going to get 170 kids coming to a non-required high school course just study critical theory with me, right? So I had to do all this other stuff. But in that, I want to make sure that I am not reinforcing the negative messages. This is what makes it tough, right? So if I'm bringing folks together and I want them to have fun, how do I do that without being sexist and racist and homophobic? I'm serious. This is the hard part, right? So Professor Norris has my email. So if you have something specific, make sure you email me and we can strategize over it. I get excited about that. It's like putting weapons together. We get excited, so we strategize about it. Okay, last couple. Yes, sir.
I wanted to ask, do you think there is a fear of a lack of a working class with the introduction of universal education?
A fear of a lack of a working class?
Right.
Like, so that in education, in providing people a higher education, you're going to lose the working class.
Right, like garbage men and stuff like that. Like they fear that jobs that are limited to people that don't have a higher education will be not as filled.
So I think there's a number of ways to answer that. I'm going to answer it this way. Okay, that's a great question. So let me say this. This is going to sound really screwed up. Okay, but if you think of the working class in relation to elite, wealthy, privileged classes, okay, and you've already had an enormous expansion of wealth at the elite levels internationally since 2000, okay? So if you raise up the level of technical ability in the wages of the folks at the bottom, they're still working class in proportion to the elite. So for example, certain things are becoming more and more automated. Hell, I was at Olive Garden last night, which I'd never eat at Olive Garden, okay? But I was at Olive Garden, and now, like, the waitress don't even take your card no more. They got the little screens at the table, and you just swipe it, and she just get to look at you funny. You know what I mean? And so, as things become more and more automated, some people think about the auto industry and how, like, my uncles all work at General Motors and how many robots they have doing it. So, no, I think if you think of our CTE work here, right, career and technical education and all this stuff happening, no, I don't think there's a fear of a lack of a working class. I think that the laboring class will continue, whether they're doing factory work or sitting at desks. But either way, no, I don't see that disappearing.
The reason I asked was because I thought it was a contributing factor to the reason that Reagan and Nixon and Agnew pointed out in the video were pointing or pitting, races against each other.
Yeah.
So that when it's actually always been about class.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and that's a great point. And so, and I'm trying to limit my lengthy ass response to your great question. But so it's always been about class and it's always been about race. Okay. So race can be divisive within class, but it can also be enriching and empowering within class, right? So I don't think that the fear expressed at that Republican fundraiser in Iowa, those notions of the black student militancy and et cetera, I don't think those things were a fear of the elimination or disappearance of the working class. It was a fear of the empowerment and the unification of the working class. Does that make sense? So that, because if you're reading class conflict stuff, you're reading Marx theory or whatever, you're reading about class struggle. But if you're Irish, you're Italian, you're black, you're Latino, you'll see yourself in that. You get what I'm saying? Which makes a really good argument for perhaps why you should come together. So that's my answer. Great question.
Right.
Thank you for that.
Well, the reason was because we were reading what's it called, Michelle Alexander's The New Jim Crow. And she points out that in the beginning stages of slavery and everything, like slaves were just as poor as working class, like blue collar white people. So when they were working together, richer people who would like own land and stuff like that, pitted them against each other, so that so that they would keep their money and that the working class wouldn't mobilize and take over, because they'd noticed that they were the majority and they would take over the rich, So yeah, that was pretty much it. And I just had that thought, like why now would it matter so much, besides being a politician? Maybe that you would want people to stay at the same length so that they could fill the positions. And I'm relating it, like before it was slavery, now it's working class jobs like cleaning buses and garbage and all that other stuff.
Yeah. So the only thing I would add to that is that, so one, it stays relatively the same, right? So slavery still exists. It's the third most lucrative international black market behind weapons and drugs, right? We often refer to it as trafficking, right? Trafficking of laborers, trafficking of sex slaves, et cetera. So that still exists. The other piece of wage workers and the threat of them unifying, and the threat of them existing, again, that's always been there as well, right? And the strategies that you're mentioning have always been there as well, right? So what I'm saying is that there's a constant. Okay, so it's not a concern about a disappearance of a working class or a class that can be subjugated. It's really a concern about the unification and the emerging of that class as a force to constantly change policy and change access to resources. And that fear is consistent, right? So it's just it's the matrix of it all, So that's my response to that. Those are really good questions, man. That's dope. Okay, and then I have one over here. Yes.
My name is William Davis. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I don't know about your university or this university, but in West LA, how come we don't have like an incubator program that incorporates like working America with some of the students? Because what I was hearing from the young man was that he was seeing a cycle of people that were being drawn out because of their social challenges to not finish their school program. And to me, that's very important because he's seeing it. So he's telling you that it's having an effect on him, and he's probably threatened by it because that's the reality of it. But my question is, I guess I don't have a question, but what I wanted to say was that I come from a family where we pull our resources together. My mom took care of Latino kids, white kids. They're now doctors, lawyers, businessmen. So if we need resources, we make a telephone call, we do something.
Sure.
Traditionally, as minorities, we come through a school system where if the teacher's not going for much, they don't push you for much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're limited to your opportunities, and you go work for Home Depot while you're trying to go to West LA.
Sure.
But it's like, wait a minute. That's more than just what you see in the hood. There's a whole world out there. We'll take trips, Spanish classes will take trips to Spain, but yet you won't go and work for maybe an incubator corporation for like one semester just to see what the real world is like. Because you might be limiting yourself as far as what you're asking.
Right.
I come from a working environment where I've always learned that you don't get nothing for free. I work in IT and I work in real estate. I've always applied for jobs where I solve problems. If you take the problem off the table, I'm out the door. So as long as you have problems, I have a job. So before you realize I'm black, I already got a paycheck. Okay, so I get in and I get out. I do the same thing in real estate. So right now, I'm going to work for a company that's owned, I have an orientation tomorrow for a corporation that's owned by Warren Buffett. This is their first venture into the corporate America. So I'm starting this department where they're buying commercial real estate assets. Because I used to evaluate commercial real estate. I even did a deal with Donald Sterling.
Sure.
Before he opened his mouth about Maggie Johnson.
Yes, I remember.
So he never knew I was a black guy. So
Right.
my question is that why aren't we teaching kids to be solution providers? So they're not out there asking, who wants to leave West LA and then panhandle for a job?
So I'll give you two quick responses to that. The first one is, what West LA College has, I suggest you ask some of the faculty and administrators here, because one of the problems with community colleges is that they have stuff that people don't even know about. And they'll be doing stuff that they haven't messaged to the community well. So Professor Norris and the other faculty and administrators here are over here, and I suggest you ask them that question. The second piece is you never want the oppressed groups to be problem solvers, so you're not going to teach them to be problem solvers. You'll ask them to solve math formulas before you ask them to solve community issues. Right? That's the answer to the other question. That the K-12 system is about performance, and it's not about change. So there's problems that kids come to school with every day that no one even addresses. And if they do, they address it in a psychotherapeutic context, not an instructional one, right? So people go, oh, you need to see a counselor, but I'm not going to teach you how to move, right? And like my students read about coercive control and woman abuse. It's a great book by Louis O'Kuhn. But we read about, in our feminist section, we read about how to identify batterers early, how to identify pimps, people who procure women and men for pimps. We studied what their techniques were, the resources available to our students, because Oakland had a huge child prostitution problem. And the average age for entry into prostitution in the United States is 14. So I want my students to know, right? Not just see a counselor, they saw counselors too. But I want you to know the techniques, I want you to see it coming, right? And so we don't usually do that in K-12, and that's one of the answers. But for your other question, ask the folks that work here, because they'll know more about that. Okay, so we're near the end, we're at the end, so let me take the last two. Please make your question quick. The last three. Okay, so yes.
First of all, thank you. Thank you very much for your service in the Educational Institute. You are definitely affecting the heart and mind of the students.
That's so nice.
And that's real impact to me and inspired me to continue on my path to use my gifts to do the same thing. So thank you. With that being said, my question to you is, how do you stay protected? You know, because you have to be a very empathetic person to go out and do the work that you're doing. And I did hear that you say that you were sick at one point. You don't have to go into all of that. But how do you protect yourself and make sure that you are always healthy and in alignment so that you can go out and help others do the same?
That's a great question. And thank you for that question. I can't give the real answer because it's a long one, but I'll give the abridged version. And, so I don't think I did a good job at that for much of my career thus far. Right? So I don't think I did a good job at that. I think I felt supported in a lot of ways and protected in certain ways, but completely vulnerable and dramatically impacted health-wise, psychologically. You know, like, when you have a student come and tell you that her boyfriend set her up to be sexually assaulted by 5 of his friends, that's hard. You know, when a grown man comes to fight your student on campus because the grown man is messing with a young lady that your student's messing with, and I have hundreds of that stuff, right? Abusive parents, you call Child Protective Services, he come for you. come up to the school, who's this Smith? I want to see him. And that was cool because I was looking for him too. I was like, that's me. You know? So I think I've gotten better over the last few years, but I've also been removed from that direct service the last few years, so I've had space. So I have friends that are really good at that. And so if you want techniques, I would refer you to those cats, like Dr. Mateo Payne, a good friend of mine. He's really good at staying healthy and protecting himself. I just really started getting good at that over the last few years. So I haven't been good at that. I've been pretty bad at it, actually. And my health issue is that I had a lump in my chest that the doctors, everybody in my family has died from cancer. Okay, so I had a lump in my chest that kept growing, and so I had to do some stuff. Luckily it wasn't cancer, but it was a big enough scare that I had to take a break from direct service. Right? So no, I don't think I've been very good. That's probably the thing I've been worst at. Thank you for the question. I appreciate it. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go up and come down. Yeah.
My question is, how can someone prevent an expectation gap from resulting to an achievement gap when that person finds himself in a just system in a just system?
Okay, so the quick answer to that is the expectation gap is twofold, right? It's one on behalf of the institution and one on the student himself. Okay, so if you have a higher expectation of yourself than the actual institution does, then your course selection, right, and the way in which you pursue your education has to reflect your own expectation. Okay, in terms of, and that dramatically will impact your level of quote unquote academic achievement, right? So if I'm in a class and I think the class is teaching down to me, I want to get out of that class. Okay? If I'm selecting a particular instructor because everybody said he's easy, that's my expectation. You get what I'm saying? All right. And then lastly, if I am pursuing a certain field, like, do you know what major you want or what is it? Okay, mechanical, okay, some shit I could never do. Excellent, excellent, okay. So mechanical, space engineering, okay, that's awesome. Okay, so you might encounter like classes in which they expect you to perform at a lower level, okay? So if you acknowledge that, but their standards for everyone else is high, then you go about your business according to your own standards, and you will be able to impact how they view you, okay? But for many students, a lot of it is a question of the institutional expectations impacting what they expect of themselves. And we want to remember that our education is about us. It's about us doing what we think we need to do for ourselves and our families. The school itself is just a tool for that. Okay? That's all it is. Okay? So if you find yourself in a place where it's like, this is boring and it's weak, okay? Find a more difficult spot. Okay? Or if you're not in the position to find a more difficult spot, how do you augment your own education? All right, so when I've been in situations where the class wasn't that dope, I want to look in the readings of the class and find extra readings that I want to read personally to be smarter. Does that make sense? So that you have an educational plan that is one provided to you by the structure, but then you create your own as well. And you go out, till this day I go out and buy books that don't nobody give a shit if I read them. But I bought them for me. This is what many adults do, but before the internet especially. They went and just bought books. Okay? And so buy stuff that, go to bookstores, actually buy books that you just want to read and ain't got nothing to do with class. And that holds yourself up to your own expectation regardless of what's happening in the school. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. All right, I had like last one. Is that right? Yes.
Doctor, what are the procedures to eliminate the racial discrimination in our educational system?
Great question. What are the procedures to eliminate the racial discrimination in our, and it's actually not that long of an answer, so great question. So if you have racial disparities in discipline, racial disparities in academic performance, racial disparities in completion rates, racial disparities in special ed referral rates, which are all very common in the United States, right? So like there's only, like the state of California school system is only about 7% black. But of students referred to for emotional disturbance, it's 23% black. Okay? So you have disparities in that too. And by the way, I mean, emotional disturbance can be all types of shit. Like, you know, I get angry all the time. Oh, it's emotionally disturbed. Well, I should be angry all the time. Like, if I'm 16, I'm a black male, and everybody getting shot, I should be angry. That don't mean I'm emotionally disturbed. It actually means I'm awake.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm supposed to be angry. And if I come here and I took 3 buses or 8 buses to get here, and this class sucks, and I tell you it sucks, I might not be that polite, but that don't mean I'm emotionally disturbed. I am telling the truth, okay? So you have those disparities. So the number one step, and this is this still being recorded, or is this done?
It's recording.
Oh, okay. Just checking. Just checking. So the way you do it is by intensive staff and faculty training and education, along with support and supervision according to a particular set of ethics and a set of standards. Okay. So a very quick example is like My Brother's Keeper, or Black Men or Latino Men Achievement Programs. Okay. It's fine to me if an organization or a nonprofit organization or a teacher says, I want to help black boys, or I want to help black girls, or I want to help Latino girls. All that's great, it's dope, and we need it. God bless them. Okay? But if a school district has an initiative, okay, it should never start with a program for the kids. If it's the district, see, if I'm doing something in the community, my program Triumph, the Oakland Tech one, it was called Triumph, trying to uplift my folks, okay? We start off as an all-black male program, okay? As soon as girls knocked on the door, can we be in, right? And the brother was like, yeah, they cool. They came in, so it was a black boys and girls program, okay? Girls had a friend on the basketball team, her name is Jackie. She's white, French-Canadian. She said, I want to join. I asked the students, Jackie cool? They was like, Jackie's the homie. So Jackie came in. So then it was no longer all black, right? Justin Bajorquez comes in, hey man, this is dope. Can I be in it? First Latino, okay? By second year, this is everybody. Okay, this is everybody was in it, okay? Now dig it, okay? That's me. I started a program from a nonprofit space, coming in to help my people, okay? I didn't have district resources. I didn't have teachers. It was me and grant writing and some of my partners, okay? If I'm a district with millions of dollars and I'm identifying that my district is creating disproportionate outcomes by race, my district, meaning the people I pay, are contributing to a racial problem, okay? Then you do not come with programs for the kids when you're the one creating the disproportionate outcomes. So the answer is, you start with the folks that are leading to the causal outcomes, right? And so that means, and I'm going to tell you straight up, quote me on it, damn it, quote me on it, okay? To become a principal or a teacher in the state of California, you don't have to have any sophistication around race or gender. You don't have to know any community history from any community whatsoever, okay? You study, I took the CSAT, I know, right? You study history, civics, but your sophistication can be minimal. All right? What's the difference between, I'm not going to ask that question because that's a hard one. But, because it would take forever for me to explain questions, what I'm saying. So my point is that if you don't have to have sophistication around these issues to be in the position to impact outcomes, okay? Then the resulting action that needs to occur is then the building up of your sophistication of the issue and your ability to manifest that sophistication in your practice. All right? So the conversation we just had, do you know when to suspend somebody? If your ass don't know when to suspend somebody, shouldn't you know when to suspend somebody? You already went to school to get your certification. Shouldn't they have taught you when to suspend somebody? Dig this. You don't ever have to take a class on school discipline to become a school principal in the state of California. It's not even required. You take a class on ed law. No one teaches you how to fulfill due process, give a student their student rights, due process. No one teaches you how to actually message suspension requirements or standards to your school. You don't even take a class on how to deal with the damn community. You don't even have to know the communities. Nothing. I went to a school, they had pictures of Black Panthers on the wall because there was a social justice school, but they couldn't tell me the story of the Black Panthers. You got to know the story. Okay? Does that make any sense? You follow me here? So it's in the training. And it's not in the training about being racially sensitive. I ain't worried about you being racially sensitive. I want you to be smart. Okay? I want you to be able to tell when somebody's hurting. I want you to be able to tell when you're making an unfair decision. I want you to be able to incorporate that community's history into your curriculum. I teach math though. Math is everywhere. How do you have students whose families are losing their homes and you don't teach not once about home ownership, loan, annual percentage rates? You don't teach about mortgages, nothing. Nothing. But you a math class. That's crazy to me. So if you're talking about how do you interrupt these racial dynamics, go to the source. We are the only K-12, kindergarten to 12th grade. We have you awake 7.5 hours a day for your entire childhood for 186 days a year. If your consciousness is underdeveloped, that's partly our fault. Because when you at home, you only awake at home for 5 hours. You sleep the rest. We got you more awake more than your parents do. Are y'all following this? Yeah. So if you getting robbed, harassed, and you ain't learning shit, don't get on the phone and say it's the family's fault. You don't even know the family. You know, that they ain't doing enough work at home. What the hell you know about my home? My mama dropped me off in a school with 80 adults, and y'all can't protect me 80 deep. 80 deep, y'all can't protect me with security. I can stand outside my house with 3 adults watering their lawn out front, and I'm safer with them fools with hoses. And it's 80 deep, and y'all all got certification, y'all all get paid, y'all all got degrees, and you still can't protect me, and you gonna blame my house? You gonna blame my house? Where was I? Where was I all these years? I was in school with cats like you, getting educated. You went to Stanford, you went to UCLA, and you don't know shit. You don't know how to teach me. But instead of saying, I don't know how to teach you, it becomes, you can't be taught. Okay? And so the introspection for educational leaders is to look at how dumb are we? Not how bad is the family, because that's too easy. Of course Latino families are lazy and don't care about education. That's an old racist idea. Of course black families they can't get invested in education. That's a racist ass idea. The only reason we even in school is because we fought for it. What you say we don't care? People done snuck over the border, done gone through all shit just to get their child a chance to go to school, and you gonna say they don't care about education? What happened to the old idea that you might just suck? And the last thing I'll say on that, and thanks for being patient, the last thing I'll say on that is the reason why we're so hesitant to admit that we suck as institutions is because if the high school sucked, then the people that trained them suck. And the people that train them take money for people to be there. Because I used to say, if my teacher sucked, then Stanford sucks. Because that's where some of my teachers went. Cal sucks. UCLA, USC, USF, my school. If those teachers are not good, then the institutions ain't good. And if they ain't good, they ain't making no more money. So there ain't no freaking way the teachers ain't good. It got to be the community. And so my thing is bullshit. Y'all charge money and you underprepare educators and then you blame people of color for not being good at school. I see through your shit, but when I walk in the room, I know you suck. I can see it. So that's the answer to me. That quit talking about the kids, quit talking about the parents. I'm not trying to hear that shit. I'm an educator. When you come into my classroom and you're a teenager, I'm talking about teens, y'all hear me? Teens or college students, you come in my classroom, You've taken the first step to establish the relationship. You showed me you want this. You stepped into the relationship. My job is to make sure you get what the hell you came for. I don't give a shit what happened. That's my job. And if you don't get what you came for, I failed and the relationship didn't work. But I ain't going to put that all on you because I don't know your situation. I know my situation. And if you did all the work, you tried to do the work, you told me, Mr. Smith, I don't like this, this is boring, and then I didn't do shit about that? I'm not going to blame your mama. How disrespectful is that? Where I'm from, that's disrespectful. Talk about my mama and my daddy, your home, I wonder what your home like, oh, their neighborhoods, there's so much value. You know shit about my neighborhood. You drove through on the way to work. I'm from North Oakland. You ain't even walked through there, man. What you know about that? You ain't lost nobody to homicide. When's the last time you seen somebody bleed? You ain't seen nobody bleed. You don't know shit about none of that, but you want to put all that on because you saw New Jack City or you watched The Wire on HBO. You don't know about that shit. You know what I'm saying? Are y'all following what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You read your books, his daddy went to jail. You don't know nothing about that. In every community, you got fighters, warriors. And for every cat that went to jail, there's hella cats that didn't go to jail. For every broke person that was like, look, man, you don't need to go to school, just go get a job. There's people in that family said, nah, you bright, go to school. But folks that don't know our communities don't peep that. They're too busy watching TV. And think because the cat is out there hustling or doing this thing or gangbanging or she out there doing whatever she doing, they think because of that we automatically lost and hopeless because they can't see our spirit. They can't see it. So that's always my answer. That's why cats don't want to talk to me sometimes. They'll be like, don't you think our program's great? I think your program's shit. You taking kids on field trips to basketball games telling me that that's going to change the whole goddamn landscape of racial oppression in schools? Because you took them on a field trip? Because you having cats call each other king and queen? I'm supposed to be like, oh, that's so awesome? They ain't no king and queen. They ain't even a prince or a princess. And worse off, when I look at your curriculum, you ain't even building them into no royalty. All this damn bullshit probably, you call her sister. You just got to call it because that's what they like to hear. It ain't about what they like to hear. It's about who you are. Are y'all following? I'm sorry, I went off. I know, I just went off. Okay, but that's my point. That we have the capacity as working class folks of all different ethnicities, we have the capacity as human beings to learn so much. So when I come into any program or any school that's claiming they're trying to change things and they're teaching people at a second grade level, I'm offended. And if I know you suck as a district, and then you want to say that the families are at fault, I want to slap you. Sorry. Anyway, I shouldn't end things on slap you. I want you to do better, and I think we can.
I'm a facilitator here of learning. I'm a professor here. But one of the things that I'm so happy to feel some of my students are still here. Thank God. Thank you. But part of what Quincy was saying in regards to sacrificing, and it's kind of changing that mindset with our students. It's not a sacrifice. It's more of an investment in yourself. Mm-hmm. Because I even tell students when they tell me, well, I'm going to take out a loan for classes, or I don't know, I'm scared of taking out that loan. I always remind students, they can repo your car, they can take your house, but they can't go inside your house and take your diploma.
It's true.
That is yours. So that's your investment. So when we're teaching our younger students, when we're teaching our kids, because I'm child development instructor,
great.
Part of it is instilling that. It's not a sacrifice. You sitting here right now for the past 2 hours, 3, I don't know. It's been an investment because, I mean, we got someone to teach us, but not only to teach us, but to really explain to us what is happening within our system. So you just took something for free, but not really, because you gave your time. You invested yourself. So always be mindful of not saying sacrifice, because that's negative. It's about investment.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much for that. And also, you know, some folks, depending on how they see sacrifice, it might not always be as negative, you know, because some people are just wired that way. You know what I mean? Some people are like, I sacrificed, yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, right? But one thing that it helped is that, this is how I see it. You do have to be, and I love the point, you have to be aware of what you're taking your loans out for and stuff, yes, and the suffering, okay? But make sure your career plans and your goals are matching that reality. Are y'all following this? So you want it, I mean, you have the internet. I sound really old now, but I'm actually not that old. But when I was younger, there was no internet. So I didn't know how much people made career-wise. I don't know what the hell a nurse make. How the hell am I supposed to know? Well, you better ask a nurse. She ain't gonna tell me. She's gonna lie, right? So, because I knew nurses. So, point is that when you're designing what you want to do, you want to research and find out how much money does my end goal actually make. Y'all following this? You want to plot it out and include the cost of your education and the cost of your suffering into your goals. Are y'all following that? Okay? And that's how you plot it out. And this is why I said it's not good enough just to get a job. This is about your development, about who you want to be. And so if you say, well, damn, I'm taking all these loans and stuff, make sure that your goal is down the line where you feel comfortable being able to make payments on those loans. Because they will come and take your car and all that stuff, but it's only if you didn't really plan out that well. And again, even if you did, you'll get the shit back, I've had my car repoed 4 times. 4 times. I can tell you, we go get it. ABC Towing Yard down in the 80s in the letter streets in East Oakland. They got so used to see me, hey, what's up, bud? What's up, man? Y'all got my Maxima. You know what I mean? Y'all got my Maxima. So it's going to happen, you know what I mean? But plan for it. Go online. Find out, I dream to be this. The job I want is this. And go find out how much they make, right? And plot that out because you might want to do something else. Okay, I've spoken a lot today. You can ask me privately because I want to let these folks go. Thank you all very much. If you have any other questions, feel free to email me. And thank you for staying. That's so awesome.